In 6 days he finished his creations, all that's in the heavens, all that's in the earth. The 7th day he sanctified and made it holy. Moses told me, this day will be for a sign between him and Jacob, established as a covenant in all our dwellings. Israel must keep it as the most honorable day, treated as a delight. The Sabbath begins when the 6th day loses life. A day of rest is not to pursue our own pleasures. A holy convocation, that's a holy gathering. What is reading out of his law in anticipation for a spiritual measure and a higher gift. Committed not to buy a sale on the go on a journey. No lane with your wife, I hope you heed the warning. Seek and do the things that please a higher only. Gather with his people, have a good time. Drink bread, drink wine. It's time to cast away the cares of this world for another day. The fishing are the eagles of the day. The holy days in the Bibles are Sabbaths too. Jubilees and it's new moons. Know you passed the Bible, told you Sabbath any day. Take heed and do what Moses said.
Let's open this Bible. Exodus chapter 31, starting at verse 13. Speak thou also to the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbaths ye should keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Ahayah that do sanctify you. For ye should keep the Sabbaths therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul should be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Ahayah. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he should be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel should keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. Leviticus chapter 23, the middle of 32. From evening unto evening shall ye celebrate your Sabbaths.
From evening to evening shall you celebrate your Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everybody good?
God.
I want to talk to you after class, okay? Okay. Girl, that's so special. Let's go and get it. I am Elder Ma'ad. It's Brother Rook to my left. From Waking of Highest Select Church. Before we get going, we're going to give our praise and honor and glory to the Most High Ahayah, Baha'al Shem Yasha, in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son. Today we're going to do something different. I know y'all looked at the precepts like, what's going on? Are some of the precepts missing? We got warned from the YouTube committee last week, right? Last week, I guess saying something about that, you know, that about the plague that's going on. So it said if we mentioned something about if this is a warning, and if because we violate the guidelines of the community, you know. So if we do it again, then we'll be we can't upload videos for a week. I'm like, cool, we upload videos once a week anyway. So this would be the mark of the first day. So next week we should be good.
Medical misinformation policy.
I told you, medical misinformation policy. So what I'm going to do, we're going to say what they like us to say. We'll say fair use is for educational purpose only. So we're going to just let some things play. It's a lot that we can get into, but truthfully, like I told my wife this morning, I didn't get up thinking about COVID. So we're going to talk about it because it wasn't in my mind. I had other dreams. Got nothing to do with no pestilence. But anyway, this is a time of confusion, the time of the end, when the world will be without a compass because the children of Israel forsook their God. so confused that we believe our enemies. So apparently the Most High trying to wake us up and let us understand that the people that we are trusting are not to be trusted. So today's title is, Can an Enemy Be Trusted? So through the scriptures, we don't go through history now. Those of us in this church, hopefully, because brothers, tomorrow we're gonna dedicate a time that we're gonna have a conference call, and we're gonna do what I did with the sisters last night. And I have much confidence, like I told the sisters, that the sisters have more reading than y'all have. Do I stand corrected or true? Speak for yourself. See that? See, some of his confidence spoke up first. The other one, we don't know what they read. I read about 6 chapters. How many chapters did they read? Well, brother, they in the 24s and 25s and stuff. Y'all there? See that? What I say? I stand correct. I stand true. See what I... No, it was good though. It was good. Huh? He competitive. So can't nobody get one up on him. But which is good though. As Terrorize said in his song, you read that book? I would read it too. You know what I'm saying? So let's get it. That's how it's supposed to be for motivation. You know what I'm saying? But truthfully, I just hope that you all really see where you are. You know what I'm saying? And I pray that we continue to, like I said, to be consistent, and then y'all will see my cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like, we in Genesis. And we've been here for years. But it's better to start late than never. You know what I'm saying? So, back to the lesson. Can an enemy be trusted? So, as I started off saying that today's world, like, it's written that through Satan's sorcery, he would deceive the whole world. Let's get that scripture. Where's my Bible? Where's my Bible? Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. Through thy sorcery. I'm going to read the latter part of 23. Calm when everybody's there.
Calm.
For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Let's get that in the Strong's Concordance. So we know that Satan had went to make war primarily with the children of Israel that keep God's laws and the testimony of Christ. But Satan hates mankind. And he has not only deceived Israel, but he has deceived the whole world. Okay? So many people that serve him willfully trust and believe in him, but as is written, can you trust a snake? Can you trust a scorpion to do contrary to his nature? What does the Most High describe Satan as? A serpent. Dragon, snake, a serpent. Can't be trusted. His nature is to do what he does. Let's get sorceries. Get it.
Sorceries, that's G 5331, and that's that word in the Greek is pharmakia, which is medication, pharmacy, that is by extension magic, sorcery, witchcraft.
Witchcraft, medication, magic. What's the premise of magic? Microphone, please. Brother Azariah spoke first. Going with 2 watches on.
To deceive others.
To deceive others. Yeah, they're coming. To deceive others. Right? Pass Sister Shiva the microphone, somebody. For by thy sorceries, by thy medication, magic, witchcraft, were all nations deceived. Yes, sister.
To make something appear real that is not.
To make something appear real that is not. That's exactly where I was going at with it. To make something that's not real appear to be real. And we can see that right now when it comes to this jab, or this poke. I'm going to use poke. I guess it's common now to use the word jab. So with this poke, they have deceived the whole world, and it's really sad. For example, we joked about this about 2 weeks ago when the so-called leader of the nation said that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated or the unpoked. Now my question is, let's just look at this, how the Bible explains how the people will be in the earth as if they're in a drunken state, but not with wine or strong drink. Because you have to be intoxicated off deception to believe these lies that are really stupidity at its finest. Like, people are arguing with people over stupidity, something that makes no sense. So if the problem is the unpoked people, what did you get poked for? But we're not thinking we're still intoxicated off their sorcery, making something that's unreal appear to be real. Because this in itself, it don't make sense. Like, why people gotta get poked? If you're poked, then, and we say all the time, you should be good. Now, some of these videos we're gonna watch, we're gonna show how inconsistent they have been. Right? One brother gonna bring out that at one point they said that now Israel is the most poked nation in the world. At one point, their statistics said that 95%. It was 95% chance. Percent that they was protected. Like everything was good, and no, they was the least
From the Pope, okay.
They was the least that should be worried because more of their country had been poked. Then all of a sudden, now when they said that, weeks went by, a couple months, whatever, so people bought into the lie. So that generated stimulated other people to go get poked. Then they come out and said, no, it's not 95, but they have 39% efficiency or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because now it's the most, they have the most reoccurring incidents. I'm trying to watch my words. Reoccurring incidents, and they're the most poked. But with them, it don't matter about them lying. That's why Christ says that they lie. Because they don't care. Because they know that the initial lie, like how I always said, words stimulate movement. So what you speak, it causes people to act on it. So they don't care about what's happened. What's the truth come out next year? What they just said is going to get the response that they're looking for. Someone else is going to bring out some information that historically the company that we look for to approve these pharmaceuticals. Am I on the? I'm on the guideline. Have historically been wrong. But more importantly, what I want to bring out to today is a connection between pharmacy and media and government. I found it very interesting that 75% of that corporation that we look for the approval of pharmaceuticals or, food stuff, 75% of their budget is paid by big pharmacy. I also found it striking that every network, except for CBS, has an active member on the board that's also active member for pharmacy, for big pharmacy. So it's the same people they got people in the same working. So we're watching the news, we're thinking that it's a separate entity, but it's not. So naturally, like if you got in trouble with the law, like I went through this myself. I was trying to sue someone for giving me, incidentally, staph infection. But the company that, was so big that the lawyers that I was trying to hire started sending me letters and saying they could not assist me because it was what they call conflict of interest. So one would think that if someone is responsible for 75% of your budget, that's a conflict of interest because that's bias. But most of us don't understand that. So when we see these reports, we think that it's authentic and it's real and that they're really caring about our health. When all in all, there's no benefit in immunity. These people are not in business for the benefit of our health. They're in business, like I would say, there's no heartbeat in business. Okay? You can't trust a business to care about you because all the business cares about is numbers. That's with a plus before it. Not the minuses, they like the pluses. So they're in business, you're in business to make money. And if everyone was immune, then they would lose money. So again, that's a notion that is not real, that they're through propaganda promoting to be real. Like we need first 70%, now it's 90%. Because the more people that take your poke, the more money you make. So we're gonna also see that now this is not Elder Ma'az's information. I'm just giving you an introduction. We're gonna also see, let's just get to it. You sent me something? You mean put on there? Oh, I know. You want to explain it to me first?
Basically, the government, a few years ago when Biden came in, he said that him and his administration will not enforce mandation of the vaccination. But now,
Brother, I was trying to find this all morning. Bro, hold on. How you stop it? Is this the one where they were showing them saying, "Yup"? Oh, praise Most High. I was trying to. I watched this like twice.
okay.
I could not find it. I kept going back like, "Where's that? Where's that?" I forgot to save it.
Okay.
Thank you, brother. Yes, this is the video exactly. Oh God, be more careful. Hold on. How you stop this thing?
Government to the general.
Ain't no pause button or nothing.
Power.
You see the pause button or nothing?
Transfer nationwide.
Hold on, let me see something.
Yeah, we want to send it right to the.
I'm gonna try to email it to myself because we having problems syncing the two devices
Yeah,
right
syncing
now.
it. Yeah.
Let me see. What my email at? Man, I was trying to find it all morning. I am not lying. Like, where is this mug at? Okay. Okay. So before we get to the videos, let's listen to what the Most High has to say. Right there. We'll go to Leviticus chapter 26, verse 14 to 46. Now, I said that in the end times, it would be a time of great confusion. But the Most High shines light in the darkness. He's letting us know exactly why these things are occurring on the earth. Okay? So, let's get it. Leviticus chapter 26. And why are they happening throughout all the earth? Because the children of Israel is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. So this will the Most High will cause punishment for our iniquities, or chastisement for our iniquities. Okay? He prophesied that because we forsook him and his laws, he will allow the enemy to afflict us with their desires. Okay? Leviticus chapter 26, starting at verse 14, reads,
But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments.
So let's stop right there for a second. Because the Bible warns us not to be beguiled by any man. Not to be deceived or tricked by any man. Now we've learned that through their sorceries, the whole world has been deceived. So the same people who have put themselves in Moses' stead, okay, who are acting as the Most High's servants or mouthpieces, are the same people that we're going to read later. So we're going to go back, as we're very familiar with these stories, but those without or outside of us are not familiar with the stories we're going to read. We have to go through the history in the Bible. Before we get to the secular, we got to get to the biblical. Because many people don't believe that those who are ruling over us have the heart that they have. Like, how often do you hear when you have conversations with your loved ones, and they always say, "Well, I don't see, well, why would they do that?" But why would they do that? See, that's not right. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to do that. See, Christ made something clear to the disciples. He says, I no longer call you servants, but friends. A servant knows not what his master is doing, but a friend knows what his friend is doing. So we forget that we're servants in the kingdom. So a servant knows not his master, nor what his master is doing. We're not these people's friends. So that's why there's a chasm there, and we believe their lies because for some reason we just have forgotten their history. No, I'm serious though. We forgotten their history. Like, I mean, like, do we get like amnesia every 4 years or something? Or do they just add more shots to the drink? Make that drink stronger and stronger every 4 years. I mean, I'm serious. It's just unbelievable. Now, not too long ago, people was rooting for the current leader. Now what are they saying? But so okay, what 2.5 more years? It'd be an uproar, and it'd be some other dude or some other woman who, if this democracy so-called continues, that our people will be getting behind. Then 6 months later, be let down again. I mean, like, seriously, people, like, what do it take to shake you awake? But see, that's our problem. We're looking in the wrong places for love. We're looking in the wrong place for leadership. The Bible asks, can an enemy be trusted? Can an enemy be trusted? Can a sheep trust a wolf? I mean, that's how intoxicated off deception our people really are. We're the sheep. Christ says, I see, we're like sheep led to the slaughter. Because for some reason, these sheep have listened to the wolf. But the Bible says the wolf will come with smooth words. I mean, like, that's some serious, sugar. I mean, one would think, this is why the Most High said, what's wrong with people? Like, they're staggering. He's looking down heaven, and we're like men and women staggering, like we just came from a bar intoxicated, trying to find a car and stumbling, because that's how it looks to the Most High when a sheep is trusting the wolf. What's that cartoon they had, Little Red Riding Hood? Mm-hmm. Wasn't the wolf promising not to, was that the gingerbread man? What's the one? All of them? 3 Little Pigs. Oh, man. Huh? Yeah. But it's showing how we are. Yeah, so the fox is not going to eat what it always eating because it talks smooth things to you. But that's what I'm saying. Like the sheep is listening to the wolf. I'm not going to eat you. Mm-hmm. We're friends. Come a little closer. Yes, get the microphone. But that's what's going on right now. Every 4 years, I'm not going to eat you. I'm your friend. I'm going to protect you.
And we are just like the one that Shiva always play with the kids. The mother goose or whatever, she be playing right here. She said, come home anyway. Chicken, come home. Uh-huh. And after your mama know the fox gonna eat them up, but you tell your kids to come on anyway.
Just said that the mama know that the kid will get ate up anyway, but you're telling your kids to come on anyway. That's what we're doing. So our loved ones, who we trust, are perpetually teaching us to trust the wolf. Like, no, this is a good wolf. This wolf ain't like the last wolf that we had. Man. But I'm serious though. But let's get what the Most High said though. So listen to what the Most High is saying. And hope what I just said makes sense, because that's really what he's saying. But he prophesied this. But we have, as Christ called them, wolves in sheep's clothing, brainwashing us to believe the wolf. Not only that, these wolves in sheep's clothing are being paid handsome amount of money to teach us contrary to our God. Now, listen to what the Most High said. Now, I'm saying this for all, I'm not even going to deal with the Muslims. Which is, no, I will. But right now, let's focus on the Christians right now. Everybody say, I love to talk about the Christians because I have to. Christ warned us that they would be the organization that would deceive the majority of the world. Many will come in his name, deceiving many. Okay? So listen to what the Most High said in verse 14. Listen to this. Why did I bring up the Christians first? Because the Most High has commanded me to. Listen. So I brought up Christianity because Christianity is the only religion that I know that teach that God's law is done away with. And that it don't matter who we are as a people. Now, listen. It's written that the name of Israel would be no more in remembrance because we forsook our God. So the nations conspired against us and said, let's do what? Hold on. Say where you at. Psalms 83. I mean, we got to go here. Because we got to understand what's really going on. Now, I'm only blowing the trumpet, but honestly, the majority of the world is going to get destroyed. So hopefully, 1 or 2 or 300 people, maybe 1,000 people, whatever, will hear the Most High's voice and be converted. But the billions of people aren't going to receive this message because they're going to still love the wolf. And believe, see, when you love someone, you defend them. See, in the street, there's like I don't know what is going on right now, because when I was in the street, I don't know what this is right now, but when I was in the street, most people defended who they love. You can talk about other people, but, you can't, like, I remember rejecting information for people that, like my homeboy, from his own family. I said, man, that's your cousin, man. You talk about that, man. I don't want to hear all that. You know what I'm saying? So, people are coming to, against who rule over us. The sheep have been conditioned to defend the wolf. Like, nah. They care about us. They love us. These wolves somehow has been converted to a herbivore or something. They don't like meat no more. The last wolves back in the day, they like meat. These wolves don't like meat. They're not going to eat us. They're going to eat the vegetables. So they reject real factual information concerning the enemy. The Most High going to call them that. But first, let's get to what I was saying. Psalms 83. I'm going to go verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Now, the psalmist is talking to the Most High. So, the nation that's ruling hate the Most High and his people. Listen, verse 1. Keep not thou silent, because his people are going through hockey sticks right now with the HE in the front. Okay? O Ahayah, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Ahayah. So, because the children of Israel rejected the laws of the Most High God, they had no defense. So now an Israelite is praying to the Most High for protection against the afflictions that's going on against his people. Like, hold not thy still. So mercy on us. The Gentiles are destroying us. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. So they're taking crafty counsel. This crafty counsel is deceitful counsel. They have plotted up a scheme on how to destroy the children of God. It's deceitful because what they're meaning about in closed doors is not revealed to the public. When they get on the microphone, they speak another language. They don't speak what they spoke in closed doors. And consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Now that's very important to do. A nation divided cannot stand, according to the Messiah. So, Israelites never been a religion. It's been a nation. The descendants of Jacob. Now he had 12 sons. Only now that the Most High are reviving his children are we calling ourselves after our fathers, the names of our fathers. But prior to that, all of us in this room, we went by a slave master's name. And we only believed because our skin was brown that every brown person was African. Mm-hmm. Now, if you was brown and had some straight black hair or something, then you was Middle Eastern. But if you look like me, you was African. I never heard, growing up as a kid, about Hebrews or Israelites. It was embedded in me first that my forefathers came off the slave ships. Now, I'm going to Deuteronomy 28. Now, this scripture was never read to me as a kid on purpose. Because Africans never went anywhere to be enslaved in biblical proportions as the children of Israel. Listen. Now, the scripture says in verse 15, but if it should come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Ahayah thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, I command thee this day, that all these curses should come upon thee and overtake thee. Now, I talked about wolves in sheep's clothing because back in Psalms 83, when you go to verse 12, it says, the enemy, the psalmist says, who say, let us take to ourselves the house of God in possession. So, for another nation to take over the house of God, they have to use the people of God. So, the Bible is showing us the key to all this. Now, I said as a kid, I knew, according to their history, that my descendants came off slave ships. But listen, one of the curses would be in verse 68. And Ahayah will bring thee again into Egypt, again with ships. Now, I'm going to show you something. Hold on. Let's go to Hosea chapter 9, verse 3. Because 28 says that God's people, and the Most High is talking to the Israelites, northern nation. If we broke his laws, we will here bring us again to Egypt again, but this time by ships. So Hosea says, listen to what the Most High says. Read verse 3.
They shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall...
Now, Ephraim represents the northern kingdom. Okay? Mm-hmm. Listen. Israelites. Read.
But Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and they shall eat unclean things in Assyria.
Now, Assyria and Egypt are two different countries. But it's saying that, and this is historically proven, that the northern kingdom went into captivity where? In Assyria. The king of Assyria took us down. So Egypt represents slavery or captivity. Now, precept on precept. Let's get Exodus chapter 20. Just showing you, because it's very important, because if you're reading this Bible and you don't know who God's talking about, it don't stick. It don't penetrate your heart. You're just reading about some ancient people. But once you understand, see, that's the power of knowledge of self. Because see, once I found out, that we found out, we was God's people, Israelites, we also found out why we're in this situation. So now when we hear pastors talk about the law done away with, we know that that pastor is a minister of the devil. Why? Let's get it. Verse 2.
I am Ahayah thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
So when the Most High is speaking about Egypt concerning curses, he's talking about hard bondage. I will send you again to slavery, hard bondage, but this time through ships, transatlantic slave ships, which I was taught my forefathers came over in. Okay? Then it says in verse 28, and Ahayah should bring thee into hard bondage of Egypt again with ships. Because you can walk from Israel to Egypt. You can't take a ship. Okay? By the way whereof I spake unto thee. He warned us that this would happen. Thou shalt see it no more again. So he's not saying we won't see Egypt no more again. We will never, this is our last time. After his children come over in slave ships and be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, it's the last time people will be in hard bondage to any nation. Because the next kingdom to rule is the Messiah's. Okay? And there you should be sold unto your enemies, and there you should be sold into the wolf as bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you or redeem you according to God's law. One of your own nation, your brethren, could redeem you out of your servitude, but nobody will do this but the Messiah. Okay? Now, if your forefathers came over in slave ships, you know what? If you know somebody that calls themselves a Moor, okay? Teach them this scripture. Because what they say a Moor is the people that came over in ships. Well, I've been saying a long time, it's the same people. Moors and Israelites are the same people. They the same people, same blood, they body. Moors just converted over to Islam, serve idols, false gods. You are the people that came over in slave ships, according to your own literature. You are the people that came over the seas. So teach them that, because see, with the knowledge of who we truly are, see, all these other things, this moral science, all that stuff, it's another block, a stumbling block, again to the root. Because nothing the Moors are doing is leading anybody into change and back to the grace of God. Nothing. All this so-called knowledge that you learn from the enemy, but what have you done in your life? You have not made one change. You just angry black people. But I'm serious. See, these are distractions. When the Most High is telling you who you are and why you're in a situation. Now let's get back to Leviticus. Okay? Because we pass our children on this false information, and then what it's doing is we're teaching our children again, who are sheep, to trust in the wolf. Okay? Even some people that say they don't trust the wolf, you trust the wolf because your so-called facts come from the wolf. See, they use our own people. They've always done this, and I'm going to prove that through Scripture. Leviticus 26. Let's get it.
Verse 14.
So, when your pastors teach you the laws done away with, according to the Most High, they hate you. Now, that may sound strange. You might even get mad at me and turn off your television set. I pray you have patience. Because listen to, this whole lesson is built off what I'm telling you. My people, we are in this situation right now. getting destroyed by the enemy because what?
But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor or hate my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments,
But do your own thing. You despise my law, reject my law, but do what you want to do. See, that's how it happens. Read.
but that ye break my covenant, I will also.
Now his covenant, see, that's another thing. That's very important. The Most High made an agreement with our forefathers, or as y'all want to call our ancestors. He made an agreement with them. A covenant is an agreement, a contract that we cannot get out of. Then some may say, well, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I wasn't there. But the promises also go to you. See, you never learned about the promises that's in the covenant.
Come on.
You say, well, I ain't got nothing to do with the covenant. I ain't keep his laws. I wasn't there. Huh? Brothers and sisters, what's in the contract is world dominion. What you're so-called fighting for right now, which will never happen because you can't come together even to shoot dice. How you gonna fight against nations of armies? That's what I'm saying. It's futile what y'all doing. It's futile. You can't get together because we curse people. We will not prosper in our way. The only way, our prosperity, it comes with being righteous. And being righteous don't mean that you are a good citizen in the United States of America. Being righteous means you keep laws, God's laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments. That's how you prosper. And I don't mean monetarily. Because what the Most High promised us, man cannot give us. That's what you need to learn about. What's in the covenant that the Most High made with the children of Israel. But you use the laws as a stumbling block. You think his laws are hard. His laws are not hard. Because if our communities kept his laws, we would have none of this. These nations could not come with us trying to poke us. They couldn't. They wouldn't be teaching our children nothing. We will have our own. Everything. My people, those were Israelites who were bombed in what y'all know. Today it'd be called what? Black Wall Street? Israelites. Whom the nation in fear, knowing our history, when we come together, they can't do nothing with us. See? So they teach us deceit. They divided us as a nation, have taught deceit with our own people. They incentivize, they have paid these wolves in sheep's clothing to keep us separate away and far away from our God, who is our only protection. So that's why I said, if your pastor has deceived you to believe that your way of life, God's laws are our way of life. They're called the laws of life, which if a man do, he will live in them. That means it's our way of life. You will live according to the law. In the truth, as the Messiah said, will make you free from the bondage of deception. You will see right through all this if you hearken, listen. What we're saying today. It makes sense to you that, like, for example, I was talking to my wife today, this morning. She was reading the scriptures. And she's like, see, that's another thing right there that people can say. I said, look, cut that out. Because when I read that, for example, that the Most High, this of GP, the Most High told our father Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. I never saw the Most High as a bad God. But many people will say, see, I don't want to serve that kind of guy. What kind of guy would tell a father to sacrifice his son? I don't want to serve that guy. See, many are called, but few are chosen. When I read that, I never felt like that. Like I told my wife, that's what the Messiah says. Don't worry about all that. Be happy that your ears hear and your eyes see. Because those who reject this right here are of the devil. And the majority of the world is born in vain, so be happy that you're not born in vain. Because I don't read scripture and say, see, the Bible is contradictory. No, the Bible has changed my whole life. Saved me. And no, I walk around here saying I'm saved, but saved me from what I was involved in. To the point that I hate my former life. I see it as disgusting, an abomination. Because the Most High has showed me how valuable and pure His way of life is for us. It's the only answer. Like that's why I say if we kept the laws which our nation run from, like some kryptonite, we would have none of this nonsense going on in our communities. None of it. Men will be men and will protect our communities from within and without. Because that's the law. There would be no gangbangers. There would be no drug dealers. We would stone them. Modern day time, you know what I'm talking about. Their parents would have to do it as an example. You can't come here poisoning us. You can't come telling us your abominations. You can't come selling stuff, having us work and do stuff on the Sabbath. The men will have the spirit of Nehemiah and tell them, you come right here again, we're going to lay hands on you. But see, that's going away. On purpose. They have stripped us of our defense, which is the law of God. So, I pray that you have patience and listen to the Most High. And ask yourself again, why would my pastor teach me that the laws are done away with when what Most High is about to explain to us right now? And I'm going to shut up and let him talk. What you're telling me, Pastor, is why my people are in a situation. So why would the law be done away with when he's saying because we don't keep his law, we're suffering these things. If we kept his law, we wouldn't suffer these things. So what are you talking about, sir? Read.
16. I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror.
So we say he will do it. That means he will allow your enemies to do what they want with you. Because when we served him, he protected us. It's like right now, you parents, when your children reject your house rules to a point where, you know, they want to keep your house rules and you get to the point where they got to go, you can't protect them anymore. You won't protect them more because they out doing what they want to do. They have put themselves in a situation of all kind of threats. But that's what they wanted. So okay, when they was in your house, you did your best to protect them. When they refuse your protection, it's like, okay, go out and get it how you live. But no one's gonna love you like your parents. So Israel is out here learning by experience that the enemies don't like us. Because only someone that hates you will treat you how we've been treated. But we wanted this though. The Most High said that Israel loved it so. Because you want to fornicate, because you want to smoke weed, you want to sell drugs, you want to go through oppression? Is your little 10 minutes of fame worth your people suffering oppression? Is this little herb that come from the earth worth you and your people suffering the atrocities that we have suffered? It's you making a little bitty money and living in the Georgia or an abominable lifestyle worth the penalty. Now let's read what the penalties are. Let's get it.
I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemy shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth
Who?
you.
They that what?
They that hate you shall reign over you.
They that hate you should rule over you. Because at one time, the Most High ruled over us, and we didn't suffer these things. We didn't have terror. We're suffering terror. Our people are terrified right now. So terrified, I'm in my truck yesterday. I'm looking at little Hebrew boys, 13, 14 years old, walking down the street with a mask on by himself. Because someone told them on television, there's a boogeyman out in the streets looking for you. If you don't wear this mask that you've been having on all day long, ain't watched it, it'll make you watch it now, but after about 15, 20 minutes, it's a wrap. It was a nice day. It was about 75 degrees yesterday. But you walking with a contaminated, filthy mask on your face when no one's around you. Terror will come on our people from the enemy. See, that's sorcery. Making something appear real that's not real. There's no threat outside. My people, check this out. It's real. I said I'll be quiet, but I can't. They have deceived us to believe that a pestilence that has a 99% survival rate is your biggest threat. We're going to find out today, if we find the video, that more people have died from overdose on opioids than the so-called pestilence. Last year. More people have died of prescribed medication, taking it as the doctor has recommended from this so-called pestilence. They hear nothing about that. Ain't nobody pushed to stop selling those killer pills. As you was prescribed. Oh, it's gonna get real. But did y'all know that even SARS had a 15% mortality rate? So wouldn't SARS be more of a threat than what's going on right now? It has a 1%. It's not a pandemic, people. Let's get it.
Verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven as iron, and your earth as brass. And your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield their fruit.
Read it, the next verse.
The next verse?
Yeah,
and if you walk contrary unto me, and will not hearken unto me, I will bring 7 times more plagues unto you according to your sins.
So I'm just saying, why would someone teach us that the laws are done away with? Do you see the severity of us not keeping our God's laws? Do you see how it make our God feel when we walk contrary to him? So this is why I stay on Christianity, because do you see what it promotes? Our current situation, people. The same places you're running to for safety are the ones who are perpetuating your situation. He said 7 times more, because the enemies are going to work hard in their meetings with crafty counsel to destroy us. Read.
I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children, and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. And if you will not be reformed by me by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, then will I also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins. And I will bring a sword upon you, that it shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send the pestilence among you.
Diseases among you. So why are we going through what we're going through? Been punished, people. But is the Most High doing this? No. He's allowing. He told angels, back up. Let the belt strike. This people is a perverted, stiff-necked generation who will not listen to me. I warned them that if they didn't keep my laws, I warned them that if they listen to man over me, this will happen to them. So as the Bible said, let God be true, every man a liar. So he prophesied right here today. Did you know that in the law, it says if we kept his laws, we would get no diseases? We would have no diseases? Our women wouldn't even miscarry. Are women miscarrying now? Are we suffering from diseases? Let God be true. Read.
And I will bring a sword upon you, that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send the pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy.
We will be delivered into the hands of our enemies. That's why it says, how out cold is the sorcery? It's so mind-blowing that a sheep can be tricked to believe a wolf. Mm-hmm. That's why they said they will cut us off from being a nation. They take over the house of God and through their doctrines make us enemies of our God. We alienate from our God. Because without the knowledge of ourselves, we don't know who he's talking about. Let me tell you something. There's no nation on the earth suffering these curses like we are. Not one. Read.
And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied.
We will eat and measure. You go to Sam's Club. You can only get one big pack of paper towels, 2 packs of tissue, 1 pack of chicken wings for $30. You eat by ration and measure. Read. Oh, for those who know, if we have time, I'm going to show you. See, they love to program you. So they're preparing you right now for so-called food shortage coming when the snow hit. And they're saying that is because people don't want to go to work. So there's not enough workers to carry. Right now it says it's a shortage of truck drivers. Right now they say that on the Pacific Ocean, there's ships circling around because there's not enough truck drivers to go get the loads. I see trucks every day. I drive them, right? But there's not enough workers to come get the produce and the products. So therefore, the shelves are starting to, become empty. It become bare. So they program you that, hey, in a minute, it's going to be a food shortage, y'all. Kind of sound like Agenda 21, y'all. Is this 2021, y'all? This for your information, FYI. Let's get it.
And if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but will walk contrary unto me.
Let's stop. When you think a pastor would tell us that we'll keep our laws, statutes, and commandments, but see, the deceived will be deceived, and will teach the seed. The blind will lead the blind, because it seems like if Christianity was for the children of God, that the first thing they will inform the children of God of is that they're the children of God and that they're suffering these curses. So their religion is going to help them because, look, you're a Christian. You have the same blood in you that the Messiah has. And the Bible said, look, this is what a true so-called, if Christianity was of God, this is what the stewards of Christianity will be responsible for. Being another nation, being Edomite or Caucasian, who can be saved by faith. Because the truth will save them too. The truth, if they really love the Messiah, they will say, your God promised that if we bless you, we'll be blessed. If we curse you, we'll be cursed. So we're going to bless you. You are the children of God. You're really Israelites. You're not African at all. And the reason your people are suffering, because you for generations, you have not kept his laws. And in order to love God, we must love his children. So here's your records. Read them. Go back to your God. Save the world. Save the world. Because the whole world groaneth, all creation groaneth, groan and waiting for the righteous to rise and wake up. Just like that little female lion in Lion King went to Simba, told him who he was. Go back home. Save the world. See? But no. They're enemies of God who have kept us in darkness. Read.
And if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in my fury. And I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sins.
Sins are transgressions of God's laws, breaking his laws. He will chastise us 7 more times for us breaking his laws. Read.
And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat. And I will destroy your high places, and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols.
Your religious institutions. Read.
And my soul shall abhor you.
He will hate us. See?
And I will make your cities waste, and bring your sanctuaries unto desolation. And I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors.
So all that singing and cooking and thanking God for that pork you eating and all that, he ain't smelling it. He ain't hearing it. Read.
And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you. And the land shall be desolate, and the cities waste.
Now notice it says the enemies that will dwell therein. Now I'm gonna show you something. You notice these Jewish people are very clever. They call themselves Jewish. My wife asked me why they say Semitic and not Shemitic. Oh, you asking that? Okay. So they'll be astonished, like, man, we can. They're gone. We can take over their land. Now, if they was the children of God, see, they let us say we have the Torah and we speak Hebrew. But didn't Christ command them to go spread the gospel throughout the four corners of the earth? Are the Jewish people going around teaching the gospel of Christ? Or are they keeping their religion to themselves? I mean, are they scattered amongst all nations? They're not the children of God, people. They're the children of the devil. They're doing nothing that Christ said. They're not the people. Okay, they don't fit the curses. They're not going through what we just read. Okay? They're the head, not the tail. The children of Israel will be the tail in the last days and not the head. Okay? Read.
30. And I will destroy your high places, and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols, and my soul shall abhor you.
Your religions that we have embraced has caused the Most High to hate us. Say, cut them down. Read.
I think I was at 30.
30. Yeah. Go ahead. Get 34.
Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land.
So now he scatters off our land. So right now we're in our enemy's land, believing that it's our land. See? That's why knowledge is power, especially knowledge of self. Because we would not be desiring this country. We would not be fighting for equal rights in our enemy's land. Like, who go to enemies to be treated equally? Oh, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The Most High saying that we'll be scattered among the heathen throughout the four corners of the earth. And guess what? All that land is called the land of our enemies, because our enemies will rule over us. This is why Christ said the truth will make you free. You will stop all your marching. You will stop all your whining and crying. You will learn these laws and commandments and learn to please your God. And teach your children that. Now, that's culture. That's for the culture. True culture. See? True culture is God's law, statutes, commandments. What these talking faces with the big mouths are talking about, it's not culture at all. It's the culture that got us in the situation we're in right now. Read.
Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths as long as it lieth desolate. And
Of us. Read.
And ye be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbaths. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbaths when ye dwelt upon it. And upon them that are left alive of you, I will send faintness into their hearts in the land of their enemies. And the sound of a shaken leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee as fleeing from a sword, and they shall fall where none pursueth. And they shall fall one upon another, as it were before a sword, when none pursueth, and ye shall have no power to stand before your enemies.
So, I spoke about the so-called Moors. The God that created you said you had no power to stand before your enemies. So what you're doing is futile. That's why whatever y'all talking about ain't coming to fruition. Because you're the children of Israel who are suffering the curses we're reading right now. Because you would not keep his laws. Read.
And ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemy's land.
See? Sin shall abound. although he's allowing all this stuff go on, we still would not recognize why these things are going on. He told us in the beginning, the first scripture, why these things are going on, why we're suffering. Because we are walking contrary to him and refuse to keep his laws, but want to live our own life, how we want to live, and suffer the consequences. Read.
And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' lands, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. If they shall confess their iniquity, and then
Hold on. You notice he never says throughout this whole reading, in your own land. Like when this, no, I'm sorry. He talked about in our own land, but after he scattered us, every place we go is enemy's land. There's only one place we can go that belongs to us. But the Bible says we won't go back until Christ leads us. So everywhere our foot trod is the land of our enemies right now. So no matter where you flee to, you're still in the land of your enemies, suffering these curses. Read.
If they shall confess their iniquity, and the iniquity.
Now, listen. If they will confess their iniquity, that take knowledge. See? He said in 2 days he revived his people. The third day we should see him. He's reviving his people right now. So when we found that when Most High revived us, what do? We confessed our sins, got baptized, vowed to keep his laws. See? Knowledge is power. Knowledge converts. Accurate knowledge of God converts one from being wicked to righteous. Read.
And they that are left of you, Salaki, 40, if they shall confess their iniquity.
Because how can you know? Our people don't think that they're sinning. They good people, according to them. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good person. Only good people are those who are righteous. Only people that are righteous are those who keep God's law, statutes, commandments. That's simple. Please, it's not confusion. It's not up to that. That's not an interpretation. That's facts. Read.
If they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers.
Oh, their fathers. What Hamite did the most ever talk about? The Most High, he ain't told no African sins. What he didn't get Africans his laws, statutes, and commandments. He didn't get Hamites his laws, statutes, and commandments. So what iniquity? Who could he be talking about? Ooh. Give me Psalms 149. No, what's that? One was it?
119, 104.
Yeah, give me that one. And I'm read 50. 119. What?
104.
Yep. Before you do there, I'm gonna read Psalms 50 verse 5.
That ain't it.
What was it? 114. 117. Is 117? 19 and 20? 147, 19 and 20. Okay. Before we read that, I'm gonna read Psalms 50 verse 5. Gather my saints together to me, those that I have made a covenant with by sacrifice. Only people he made a covenant with by sacrifice are the children of Israel. The same covenant he said that we broke and that they broke. So one of them have to have knowledge of themselves and their true fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not Ham, who we was taught that we was from. See? We have to come out of the brainwashing into the truth. Now we know why we're in a situation. Our fathers sinned and taught us sin. Our fathers and mothers taught us to trust and want to be like the wolf. We're sheep. A sheep cannot be a wolf no matter what they try to do. You're a sheep. Two different creatures. Hold on. Read, my brother.
Psalms 119, that's like 147, 19 to 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation.
So to confess the sins of your fathers means we must come into the realization of who we really are. Now, I said a sheep can't be a wolf, and they have to be separated. Listen to what the Most High said at the birth of our father. Genesis chapter 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Most High for his wife because she was barren, and Ahayah was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled or fought together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? If you prophesied that I would have the promised seed that you prophesied, why am I having so much pain? These two nations was fighting from the room prophetically for world dominion. So listen. And she went to inquire of the Most High. And Ahayah said unto her, two nations, two different nationalities, one will have melon, one won't, as a divine mark. Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people should be separated from thy bowels. And the one people should be stronger than the other people, and the elder should serve the younger. While they was fighting in the womb, it's prophetic. The Most High had them fighting in the womb for dominion because the elder don't want to serve the younger. But two different nationalities within the womb, a white baby and a black baby. Let no man deceive you. It's the reason why they don't get no melon. Are the only people in the earth don't have any melon. Okay? That I know about. Do you know any more? Okay. Very small amount? I see right through their skin. I see them green veins and red veins. Okay? So, two manner of people should be separated. So do you see now why what Martin Luther King did was against or contrary to what the Most High commanded? He commanded us not to, make covenants with these people, to be separate from these people. Unless they wanted to serve the God of ours. Not the other way around. Okay? But two different manner of people. We cannot have peace on this land because we're fighting in the womb, people. For dominion, for promises that come from God. Next precept.
Verse 40. If they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers, which with their trespasses which they trespass against me, and that also they have walked contrary unto me, and that I also have walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies, if then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob.
Let me ask you a question. Are you cool with the punishment?
Cool with the punishment? As in,
Right now.
like, does it suffice?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are you blaming God right now?
Nah,
Oh,
not at all.
see, it's
No.
actually in work right now.
Con.
We understand. We get it. Like, we're not saying that he's an evil God because he puts in slavery. What kind of God put your children, if you love them, in slavery? A God that love them. What kind of parent whoop their children? A parent that love them. Okay? We have confessed the sins of our fathers and ourselves and trying to get this thing right. So our God does not stay angry at us. He created us to worship him, serve him, not ourselves or other gods. Read.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob,
Our father,
and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham.
our fathers. The fathers he was our father he made a covenant with. Read.
Will I remember, and I will remember the land The land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths, while she lieth desolate without them, and they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity.
Read.
Because they despise my judgments, and because their souls abhor my statutes. And yet for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them, for I am Ahayah their God.
See, some of his children will wake up and get it. And because of that, he will not destroy us utterly. Because all his children did not forsake him. Read.
But I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen, that I might be their God. I am Ahayah. These are the statutes and judgments and laws which the Most High made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hands of Moses.
Now you see why keeping our laws and not yourself is so important. We're in a covenant, people, with the Most High God. Next precept.
Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10 through 12 and 16 through 18. Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
Who?
Never trust thine enemy.
Where are we at right now? In the land of our enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Are we walking contrary to the counsel of the Most High? He said what?
Never trust thine enemy.
No. The government loves us. This is for our health's sake. They want us to be healthy. If they want you to be healthy, there'd be no pharmaceuticals. Corporations. They will heal you from the beginning. And, you take a pill and you'd be done. But everybody is a what? A chronic patient or perpetual patient. You go to them. Somehow nowadays, when you get about 45, 50, you need all these pills. Like, every year they add a couple more pills to the box. But now, all of a sudden, everybody's on all these pills. So, is it really for your health? And every pill has, when you watch a commercial, more time is spent on the commercials announcing side effects than the actual drug. They give you put a little music on that thing.
People playing in the park.
Sally the kids jumping around in the lilies, you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, this product promotes suicidal thoughts, bowel movement, cancer, all this crazy stuff. Who? Heart failure. Bleeding the nose, the ear, the nostrils, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sometimes they gotta speed it up. They gotta fast forward it. They gotta put that thing in fast motion just to get it by.
You know what I'm saying? My people, we're debt slaves. Okay? They made merchandise out of God's people. So the Most High said, never trust your enemies. So the enemies have stripped your identity. Because you wanted to not keep his laws, the Most High allowed them to strip you of who you are. The Bible says you will lose your heritage. You will lose you will lose the laws. You will lose the knowledge of self. You will lose your way of life. So because you don't know who you are, you believe that the enemies care for you. Because they come with fair speeches. Right? Ahayah said, what?
Never trust thy enemy.
Never trust, never trust your enemies. And according to scriptures, we are in the land of our enemies, people. The people that rule over us will what? Hate us. But you trust, according to God, and this ain't Elder Ma'az or Brother Brooks' words. The Most High said, the people that rule over you will hate you and call them your enemies. He says, what?
Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Now, last I checked, you leave something outside and it rain as iron. In the morning, it's rust. So Most High said, never trust these people because as iron rusted, so is their wickedness. My people, the only intentions concerning us is to do wickedly and destroy us. But you have to get through your thick head that this is real. You are not Hamitic. You are not African. If you look like me, if you're so-called Mexican, if you're Jamaican, you're Native American, you're Puerto Rican, the aboriginals of the earth, you're Israelite. You're Israelite. We're in a situation because our forefathers rejected our God and our way of life, and we want to learn the way of the heathen, of the Gentiles, of the other nations. We want to be like we adopted the sin as in Rome, do as the Romans. Well, they want you to do as them because they know if you did as them, they rule over us. According to the Bible, they read our Bible and believe our Bible more than we do. They use it to get dominion, teach them sin, create a society of sin. They love it. And they'll never know that we rule over them because they forgot their God. Let's get them our gods. We would inherit the riches of the world and enslave the children of God. That's what's really going on, people. So if you go to these churches and they're telling you that you're saved and it's by grace you are saved because so you can sin. No, we're suffering. If that was so, we would not be suffering. People, we would be the head right now. It's in full effect, people. Because the law stands. We're suffering the law. We're suffering the portion of the law that are the consequences of the covenant. If we broke it, the law stands. People, we're living the curses. If it was done away with, we would be free. Read.
Verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching.
Though he humbled himself. Oh, he humbled himself, right? This is Dr. Fauci. I'm a PhD, EFQSVB. I went to such, and I've been doing it for 50 years. I've been killing people for 50 years. I've been in 5 administrations, killing people. Because they put letters and stuff before they name and boast themselves. You trust in them. So what they do? The Most High say they're your enemies. Fauci don't care about you. He care about his pocket. Power is what they really care about. They have all the money. They've done what they've done to establish their wealth. Now it's about power. Total control over you. Then someone say, okay, it's an American thing. It's not. My people. The Bible says that this earth is ran by evil forces in dark places, in high dark places, evil spirits. They have blessed certain families. And these families rule the whole earth. We're going to show you when we get into the history of the Grecians. See, it's not just these demons have been trying to do this forever. Because forever, it's been about one dominion. It's been about one God ruling the whole earth. Satan said he'd be like the Most High. So, through these families, when you see historical wars, biblical wars, let's use the Grecians, for example. We're going to read into their history. The mission was to take over the whole world. Alexander the Greek wanted to rule the whole world. Every king wanted to rule the whole world. When the kings fought, you would see even our own kings. To save their life, they was robbing the temples, paying the kings not to kill them. So now they spared their life because they bribed them. But with the bribe, they had to pay tribute every year to the king that you're scared of. So when you heard about these wars, what all they was doing was the same thing that Alexander the Greek was doing. Do it our way or die. Do it our way or die. Do it our way or die. Oh, it's a war on terrorism. No, do it our way or die. So right now, all these countries are in subjection to these families. What's going on in China? We're going to show you what's going on in China. It's coming to America, people. What's going on in Africa? It's coming to America. It's all coming to the world power. They call it New World Order, people. One rule of all countries. They've been trying to do this forever. Read.
Verse 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching.
So this is how the enemy will act. He'll humble himself, act like he really loves you. He cares for you. Read.
Yet take good heed and beware of him.
Yet take good heed and beware of him.
And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away.
Has anything changed since old boy been in office? The rust have not wiped away, people. It's getting worse. According to prophecy. Read.
Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith.
See, Most High never said keep your enemies close. Set them not by you. Read.
Verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips.
Sweetly.
But in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep. He will weep with his eyes. But if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet he shall undermine thee.
Though he pretend to help thee, he will do what? Undermine us. History has proven that true, people. History, 400 plus years has proven that true, people. I mean, how long do it take? 500 years? For you to figure this thing out? Read.
He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance.
See? In their meetings, they clapping their hands, laughing at us, people. No, before the public, they look outside and all care about the mask on there. We trying to know about public health. People, they never care about public health. They care about public health. It'd be no abortion clinics. Next precept.
Psalms chapter 10, verse 2 through 11.
Now, like I said, let God's word be true, every man a liar. The Most High only deal with facts, not assumptions. He's telling you how it really is. These people go into these positions, these people leave their positions way more wealthier than they came in. You're going to find out that, seriously, the people that worked for these pharmaceutical companies or work for the company that people trust in for approval for food and drugs, somehow when they leave this organization, they get a nice lofty job at the pharmaceutical company. We didn't know that, did we? So what did you have to do for these companies to secure their future after they leave this organization? Some fat pockets, y'all. They say you wanna find out the truth. Do what? Follow the money. Some people have done that. Let's get it.
Psalms chapter 10, verse 2. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined.
Listen, read that again.
The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor.
That's just what it is, people. The rich don't care about the poor. In their pride, they take pride. That's what capitalism is. The rich taking advantage of the poor. Is it not? Read.
Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesses the covetous, whom the Most High abhorreth.
Blesses the greedy. Read.
The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity.
So these people think that the Most High ain't gonna pay them back for what they've been doing to our people. They think they should never be moved. That Satan and them are going to defend against the Messiah and his angels. Read.
His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud.
His who?
His mouth.
So when you watch the news constantly all day long, the network of your enemies, what are they mouth full of?
Deceit and fraud. Cursing.
His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity, things that would not profit you. Read.
Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor.
In their laboratories, in their secret places, do they murder the innocent. In their secret places, they murder the innocent. This is what our enemies are doing, according to the Most High God, not Awakening Highest Day Church. This is what they always have done. Can a leopard change his stripes? His spots? Okay.
He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. Arise, Ahayah, O God, lift up thy hand, forget not the humble. Yeah.
Romans chapter 16.
Romans chapter 16, verse 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses, contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid
Mark them. Not just people up in the churches. Anyone that try to force you to do things contrary to the doctrine of God, to the doctrine of Christ. Right? Now, hold on. Deuteronomy 14:3 says, "Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. When you eat, you consume things. We should not consume any abominable thing." Aborted fetuses is an abominable thing. He never told us to eat. Who? Huh? Deuteronomy 14:3. He never told us to eat copper. All these toxins that are in these pokes. Okay? That's making your soul abominable. Eating is consumption. Okay? We're not consuming these things. So if anyone come, not just a pastor, if anyone trying to tell you that it's okay to make your soul abominable with things contrary to what the Most High says, they are of the devil. We are not to hearken or listen to them. Read.
Verse 18, for they that are such serve not our Lord Yahshua the Messiah, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches.
So now many pastors have been poked and have convinced their members to be poked. Why? Because their gods are their own bellies. If they don't do this, then they're shut down. And their God is their belly. Okay? And they know not the Most High, nor are they servants of him. Read.
And by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple.
See? By good words and beautiful speeches, they deceive the hearts of the simple.
Next precept, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 4 through 7 and 13 through 14. Second Timothy chapter 3 and verse 4. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses, and led captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
Read that again.
Traitors, heady.
So, we're going to use this scripture in the context of these pastors who are traitors of God. Traitors. Sold their soul to the devil. Read.
Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses, and led captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
Ever learning, but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth and be converted, because they're led by their lusts. They have submitted themselves to the government, or the way of the land, or the way of the wolf, and not of God. Next precept.
Verse 13. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived.
What that say again?
But evil men and seducers.
But evil men and seducers within our own people. Our leaders would be evil men and seducers. Read.
Shall wax worse and worse.
Wax worse and worse.
Deceiving and being deceived.
Deceiving and being deceived. My people, it's time to wake up. This is prophecy. It's here. The people that you are trusting have been deceived and are deceiving you. The Most High has nothing to do with this poke. He warned us that this thing would be occurring in the last days. This is one of the pestilences that he prophesies. The poke is an abomination. If you take that poke to the Most High, you made your soul abominable. Again, that's why it's very important to understand who you are and who your God is in his rules, his laws. We're not to assume anything that he didn't say put into our bodies. Anything. Well, God warned you not to be stupid. He told you to read his word. You read his word, you will realize that the people that you esteem are really your enemies. He says, never trust your enemies. But you think it's about a color. It's not about color at all, people. Oh, you saying because that's a white man. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because God calls the people that rule over you your enemies. Okay, what color they are. This happened to be what you said they are. If they was blue, I was talking about the blue people. The God said they rule over us, that hate us, who seek to destroy us. Next precept.
14. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of.
We must continue what? Things that we have learned. Right?
And has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them.
Knowing of whom you have learned what you have learned. Stay with it. Do not compromise with these people. Next precept.
Colossians chapter 2, verse 2 through 13. Colossians chapter 2, verse 2. That their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love, and unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding.
That's very important, my people. The Most High is edifying us that our hearts may be comforted in this time of trouble. That our hearts may be comforted in this time of trouble. Being knitted together in love. Knit together in love. We all we got, people. And unto all riches of the full assurance of our understanding. What we understand, the doctrine of Christ. We must be fully assured of it, fully believe in it. Read. To
the acknowledgement of the mystery of God and of the Father and of Yasha, in whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge.
See, if you don't know the Messiah, then you would definitely go run and get poked. Or believe anything else that come from the agenda of these people. Read.
And this I say, lest any man should beguile you with enticing words. For though I be absent in the flesh, yet am I with you in the spirit, joying and beholding your order, and the steadfastness of your faith in the Messiah. And as ye have therefore received Yasha, the Lord, so walk ye in him.
As you receive them, do what he say. Do as he commands. Walk in them. Be perfect with him. Obey him over men. Read.
Rooted and built up in him, established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Yasha.
God.
For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and ye are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power, in whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, and putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Yasha, buried with him in baptism, wherein also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God, who hath raised him from the dead. And you, being dead in your sins, and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath he quickened together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses.
With that scripture, give Most High praise and thanksgiving, because we were dead in our sins, following after the rudiments of this world. Now, let's get some history. We're going to the Apocrypha, Maccabees, Second Maccabees. So we're gonna go through these people's history, their fathers, the Grecians and the Romans. But this is the Grecian history right here. The Edomites, who rule over you.
Second Maccabees chapter 6, starting at verse 1.
So, for all those in the beginning, as we spoke, you say, well, why would the government do this? Listen to the desires of the hearts of the kings. Okay? Listen, read.
Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God.
Now, do you see that what's in the heart of this king is also in the heart of our kings? See? They set up Christianity and Islam and other religions to compel us to depart from the laws of our fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High. See? Read? Like, why would another nation be concerned about who we serve? There's dominion in that, people. See? If we sin, they rule. So this is their father. Read.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus.
Their God. Read.
And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers.
See, now make that make sense, people. So why do you see a white Jesus? That's their God. See, Yasha is a Hebrew. The son of God. Zeus, or Jesus, is not the Messiah. That's not even how he looked. So that's not him. They just took a name and gave it and placed that name on the Son of God. Well, his name was never Jesus. The angels told Mary, his mother, to call him Yasha. So that's not who you think he is. Who you've been praying to is not who you think. And he's not supposed to be prayed to nowhere. No way. The Messiah is the mediator between God and man. So let's break it down. Do you see that you call him Jesus? They have deceived you to think that that white dude on your wall is the Son of God. He's not. He's a Roman God. The God of Christianity. You're praying to him. Because Yasha, the Messiah, never said pray to him. Everybody that's a Christian are here. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord Jesus. The Son of God has a Father and a God. To him you must pray to alone. So showing you sorcery, magic. See, back then, they replaced our God and put their God there. But who is their God? The defender of the Gentiles. Strangers is another word for Gentiles. So you're praying to the defender of Gentiles. It's one, I can't make this stuff up, people. Many should come in my name deceiving many. They will come saying that they are of Christ and they're not. That dude is not the Son of God. That religion is not of God. It's a Roman religion. Go look it up. And that dude you're praying to is a defender of the Gentiles. So he's not going to defend you, which is why he has not defended you. You're not a Gentile. That doctrine that y'all get from Christianity is not the doctrine of Christ. We just learned today that because we break his laws, we're suffering these curses. So if it was of God, they'll be teaching you his laws and commandments. Christ warned us about men that would break his laws and teach men to do so. But you won't listen to Christ, though. He warned you. Their God is the defender of them, who gave them authority and power and even his seat.
Bring it out.
When you're doing your Christmas and Thanksgiving, you're reverencing the God, the defender of the Gentiles.
Come on, man.
Believe it or not, you are. The Most High said that the things that sacrifice to are devils and not God. And you can't drink the cup of the Most High and the devils. You take it as a light thing. No, you've been deceived to practice these things and put it into as a tradition. They need you to do these things so they continue to rule over us, people. Let's wake up. Learn from history. So now it's easier. Pastors say the law done away with. They forced this at first. Now y'all receiving it easily. Let's get this story. People, please open your ears. Turn up your antennas. Like, remember old antennas? Stretch them things out. Put some lumen forward on them things if you need to. A little staticky, put some lumen forward on them things. Let's get this flow. Let's go.
And that in Gerizim.
No, start at 2.
2.
No, start at 1. Let's get it. Yep.
Let's see. So. Yeah, can you hang out out front? Yeah, thank you. The water. Chapter 6, verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers.
Compel means force. Okay? Force. Read.
And not to live after the laws of God.
So it must be highly important for us to keep the laws of our God. That the king had to use brutal force to try to convince us not to keep the laws of our God. It must be highly profitable for them, for us not to keep them. Mm-hmm. To invest so much into compelling us not to keep the laws that God gave us. Read.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in that place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles.
While partying. Sexual perversions, orgies, all that in the house of God. Read.
Who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And beside that, brought in things that were not lawful.
For those who understand this, these are your modern day nuns. I mean, these are the nuns back in the day. Harlots. But they act like they chased the harlots. Okay? On Sabbath, they dress all nice and virtuous, But when they got dark, it was harlots. So right now, you think them nuns virtuous? Harlots. They know not God. Without the Spirit of God, truthfully, only get the Spirit of God by keeping His laws. They don't keep His laws. They don't have His Spirit. Whose Spirit do they have? Harlots. They are. Read.
The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth.
Unclean meat, swine, things with paws, everything that Gentiles been eating everything from the beginning. But let's go.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
It was illegal to keep the Sabbath. How important is the Sabbath? So important they made it illegal. Not lawful means illegal. They made it a law against us if we kept our laws. Consequences came on us if we kept the Saturday Sabbath of the Most High God. Now, I'm getting the origin. Now, the son of these people can say, we have more authority than the Most High and Christ. We changed this day to Sunday, not Saturday. But they had to make it illegal back in the Grecian Empire. Now, the Pope can say, we want to say, you follow their children. Read.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
Or ancient feasts. So why aren't you keeping the holy days today of the Most High God? The children of these people have to convince you don't have to, but you have to keep their holy holidays though. Mm-hmm. Why these Christian churches don't keep God's holy days when they made it illegal for us to back in Grecian time? This was the start of their operation. So in the end, their heart desire was for us to forget our God and His laws, which we have done. It worked, people. Read.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Illegal to say what you are. So now I'm an African American. If I say I'm a Jew or an Israelite, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. I had to go have a meeting with these fake Jewish people and get counseled and educated. No, the Bible is my education. I don't need you at all. See? Unless you compromise. I don't care what people talk about Mark Kendrick. He would not be performing the Super Bowl people if he wasn't with them. Oh, but he an Israelite and he be speaking. No. Lamar Kendrick.
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. What his name is?
Yep.
Yeah. I said it backwards. But everybody think he's an Israelite that, it's nah. He's not standing up for Christ. Again, like sister said, our Israel ain't Israel. He's performing at the Super Bowl, which is publicly known as one of the greatest satanic rituals events in America. He's Israelite though. So they're gonna deceive you, put you right in there to watch all these other satanic rituals along with your brother. Let's get it.
And in the day of the king's birth every month, they were brought by bitter constraint.
So on the king's birthday, they did what?
They were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the
abominable foods, the things contrary to what the Most High said. So this is the same thing right now, people, of us taking the poke. What's the difference? It's abominable. And they're doing what? With constraint. Read it again, brother.
And they were brought by bitter constraint.
By bitter constraint, against their will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are the cowards to me. The true warriors and soldiers and righteous died righteously, which this book is going to promote. So right now, many are being, against their true desire, but they want to keep their jobs. When truthfully, people, honestly, like people are gonna bring out in these videos is you have patience and understanding knowledge. They can't fire you. They can fire you, but guess what? In the end, you're gonna win because it's illegal what they're doing. But because they have this fear tactic, everybody is giving up their rights. So many states right now are suing the government because they know it's illegal against the Constitution. But we don't know the Constitution. We don't know the rights of the states and how the whole federal government is designed. What they're doing is illegal, people. They legally cannot fire you, nor fine your businesses. Those with knowledge, though, are fighting, and they're going to win because the Constitution, according to the law, they keep the law. But it don't matter. Same thing about a lie. They don't care if you find the truth tomorrow or next year or next month. They still have gotten people to take this poke. So millions of people are still getting poked, but in the end, they're going to pay for it. This nation is divided according to the Bible, and they're fighting, and they know that they have what they're doing is illegal, but we don't know. So, I'm losing my job. No, if you hold on, they can't. They can, but in the end, you will be rewarded. Read.
And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled.
Bacchus, another god. See, I told you, the Gentiles' holidays are references to gods. Christmas is a feast. Thanksgiving is a feast to a God that's unknown to you. But their holidays are feasts to their gods. To Bacchus, read.
The Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
Made them carry ivy. Read.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
Real history, people. You wonder why they took this out of your Bibles. In the Roman Catholic Church Bibles, it's in it. The same people that told you that it's non-canonical, they have it in their Bibles. Read.
And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
See, this is the same strategy, people. As fear. Fear. Read.
Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babies hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
Do they care about you and your children? Cast the children down headlong from the wall. Read.
And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together.
This is why he called these people our enemies. These are the children of these people. Read.
Because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. Now I beseech those that read this book.
Now listen to what the brother is going to encourage us with these words.
That they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation.
That's what's going on, people. This is not to discourage you, to awaken you. The Most High gave us a choice. What did we want? The good or the bad? We chose the bad. So he'd be a liar if he didn't fulfill what he said. But it's not for our destruction. It's for the chastisement, for people to wake up and get back right with our God by keeping. They say find Christ. No, find Christ is learning the laws of Christ. How you accept something? There's no rules to it. Oh, I accept you as my Lord and Savior. And what does that mean? Christ said, if you love me, you will do what he say. Keep his commandments. You must learn his commandments and keep them. They're the same commandments as Moses. Read.
For it is a token of his great goodness, when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbear to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so he dealeth with us.
I got it. 15. Lest that, being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. So these people are going to pay for what they have done to us people. And therefore he never withdrew his mercy from us. And though he punished with adversity, yet do he never forsake his people. But let this be what we have spoken be for a warning unto us. And now we will come to the declaring of the matter in few words. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. Listen, people, pork. So it said he was constrained to eat swine's flesh. So I said earlier, the people that submitted was cowards. Our fathers and mothers was cowards. They feared death over the Most High. Okay? Because listen to what this brother did. But he, chosen rather to die gloriously, that means keeping the Most High's law, statutes, commandments, in the face of death. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment, as it behooved them to come, that are resolute to stand out against such things, as are not lawful for the love of life to be tasted. Pork, man, people, listen to what the Most High is telling us about pork. It says he spit out. He says, as it behooved them to come, he came to the torments, that are resolute to stand out against such things, as are not lawful for the love of life to be tasted. You see how the Most High feel about pork? When abominable foods he said don't eat? It is not to even be tasted. For the love of life. He spit it out like, it's a disgusting thing. And walked to the torments. Right now, people say, man, I gotta have my bacon, gotta eat my pork chop. Mm-hmm. You know, not your God or yourself. Or your history. This is your history. It's why they took it out. One of the reasons, many. 21. But they that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king, that in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray head, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child. Listen to this. And his most honest education from a child. We're going to find out what our true education is. It's not the heathen. Or rather the holy law made and given by God. So is our true honest education done away with? No. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. For it becometh not our age, says he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 90 years old, were now gone to a strange religion. Strange. Now it's common. It's our religion now. It was strange back in the day. And so they through my hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer should be deceived by me. Take heed, my family. Christ says, many will lose their soul trying to save it. Listen to what Eleazar said. And so they, through my hypocrisy, him compromising, him carrying out, and desire to live a little time or a moment longer, should be deceived by me. And I get a stain to my old age and make it abominable. For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. He know about what hell is. So we cannot desire to live a little bit longer. If death is at hand, let it be so. Go to the torment. This is a righteous brother, a warrior of the Most High. There's a story about a sister who was a warrior for the Most High. So a lot of people say, well, that's all we had in slavery was pork. No, you should have died starving then. It was cowards. That's the truth of our forefathers who got us eating pork right now. Cowards. Their righteous died and will be rewarded in the kingdom of God. The cowards who compromise getting tormented right now and will be tormented forever. Now that's the truth. That's the excuse. That's all we had was the pork and this and this. No, you should have ate some cauliflower, which wasn't even available then, wasn't even created then, but some dandelions if you had to. You could have been like John eating some honey and locusts. 27. Wherefore now manfully changing this life, wherefore now manfully changing this life, I will show myself such as one as my age required, and leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. The honorable and holy laws. Die for it. Y'all don't even want to hear it. Your righteous forefathers died gloriously for the honor of our laws. Again, anyone teach you against that is of the devil. I don't care how you feel about it, it's facts. And leave a noble example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torments. They that led him, changing the good will, they buried him a little before into hatred, because the said speeches proceeded, as they thought, from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Most High that have the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten. But in soul I am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a notable courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. A memorial. His brother must be remembered, Eleazar. Okay? First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. This is who they call Alexander the Great, but we call him Alexander the Great. And it happened after Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. First Edomite over Greece. Verse 11 through 64. And in those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. See, it's always our people that lead us to our own demise. So this device pleased them well. Then certain other people were so forward herein, that they went to the king and gave them license to do after the ordinances of or traditions and laws of the heathen, the Gentiles. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. Sports are of the heathens, not of Israelites. We are men of war. We are not athletes to be competing against each other for money. That caused the division of the nation. And 15, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. See what happens when we go over to them? We have to forsake our God, our custom, our laws, and be like them and serve their gods. But why they did this? For monetary gain, prestige. Sounds familiar? Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many was wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. Now this is Ptolemy was one of the Edomites that ruled in Egypt, but before that it was no Edomites ruling in Egypt. Okay. 20. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. And the only reason he's able to do this, because we rejected our God again. So the Most High allowed them to ramshack us and enter proudly into the sanctuary. See, they go straight to the sanctuary first. And took away the golden altar and the golden candlesticks of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veils, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were. This happened. He said he would give us over to the sword, to a nation that hate us, if we broke his laws. See how that works? But we had men persuading us to continue to add sin on top of sin. So when the prophets came, they rejected the counsel. They continued to sin. The Most High sent destruction towards them. 9-day mourning. So that the princes and the elders mourned, the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. Like, why is this going on? You didn't keep his laws. You listen to the men over the Most High. And spake peace. So, hold on. And after 2 years, now listen, what did the Most High say about the enemy, how he crouches? Mm-hmm. Listen. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collectors of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. Listen, people. Never trust your enemy, right? According to the Most High. And spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. See, with smooth words they come in the guise of peace, in disguise of peace. But destruction is in their heart. Right now they come in in disguise of peace, but destruction is in their heart, people. Same people. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David, the city of the king, we ruled from, with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. Listen now. Who rule over us, people? Listen, who rule over us? Now the king did what? And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. So everyone that rule over us, people, is a sinful, wicked nation. That stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Wherefore the city was made an habitation of strangers or Gentiles, and became strange to those who were born in her. And her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. And as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, one nation under God. That's nothing new, people. Same desire of their father they have. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messenger unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. That's what they're doing right now. To the end, why? What's the premise of this? What's the goal? To the end that they, Israelites, might forget the law and change all the ordinances. They have accomplished this, people. It has worked. We have forgotten our laws and all its ordinances, our traditions of God, His holy days, His festival days, feast days, His Sabbaths. Whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, said he should die. In the same self manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law. And so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for secure or safety. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and built idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces, when they had rent or tore in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burned them with fire. When they found our scrolls, they burnt them with fire. When we came over here, they killed us if we read. What were we trying to read? The news? No, our laws. And whatsoever we found with any the books of the testimony, and whatsoever was found with any the books of the testimony, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as was found in the city. Now the 5th and 20th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised, and they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel was fully resolved and conformed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So did they die. And there was very great wrath upon Israel. So my people, as the New Testament says, we have a great cloud of witnesses. We have no excuse. We take this pope or this up-and-coming mark of the beast, you make your soul abominable, you become an enemy of God. Some he abhors, some he hates. If they can do it, so can we. They fear death, people. All we fear is losing our job. All we fear is, all the fears before us is we can't travel, we can't go to Cancun, we can't go to Cabos. They had death in their face, but they chose rather to die, that they may not be defiled with meats or consuming things against the dietary law. This poke is against our dietary law. And that they might not profane the holy covenant, so that they die. Come down to people, we must follow this example. Now, let's watch a couple of videos. YouTube channel, yes, please go to the YouTube channel. Right? Let me see what's on say first. Let's start with this one.
Okay.
So Christ said these people lie, right? Let's get it. Hey, can I have that microphone? It's gonna come through here, right?
Yep.
The water.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power. Just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
Nope.
Can we mandate vaccines across the country? No, that's not a role that the federal government, I think, even has the power to make.
We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do.
Fair use.
It is a matter of
For
privacy
educational
to know
purposes
who
only?
is or who isn't.
No, definitely not. You don't want to mandate and try and force anyone to take a vaccine. We've never done that. We don't want to be mandating from the federal government to the general population. It would be unenforceable and not appropriate.
I don't think it should be
Yep, that's the end of it. So the same people that changed their mind apparently. It said it's unenforceable. They know it's against the Constitution. But our people don't know the Constitution. So through fear, we run and take the poke. So we can apparently keep our jobs and travel. Next video. Let's get my man.
Some people want to live this way, college football in America, and some people want to live this Australia. Okay. We're divided now more than ever, and these two pictures really illustrate it. But my question today is, are you even allowed to be honest? Are you allowed to tell the truth? Or do we live in an authoritarian 1984 world where you will be penalized for telling the truth, before the media and the so-called experts. Everything I'm going to say is going to be sourced by mainstream media, so this shouldn't even be controversial. And if you want to know why people are skeptical, this should explain it. Just a few days ago, Rolling Stone took this dozens lineup at Oklahoma City Church for COVID vaccine January photo from AP and repurposed it for their fraudulent article, Gunshot Victims Left Waiting as Horse Dewormer Overdoses Overwhelm Oklahoma Hospitals, Doctor Says. In their update that should have been a total retraction, they literally admitted that doctor who said that hasn't worked there in over 2 months, and the hospital themselves say that they actually haven't treated any patients due to that. Seriously, they're that bad and fake. So this is Reuters on Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. They said Israeli study finds Pfizer vaccine 95% effective against COVID-19. And on July 23rd, just a few months later, CNBC admitted Israel says Pfizer COVID vaccine is actually just 39% effective as Delta spreads, but it still prevents against severe illness. So just in a few months, that 95% number went to 39%. Since Israel was very bullish on the vaccine, on April 14th, 2021, they said in BBC, COVID, Israel may be reaching herd immunity. Telling people, you have to get this, we're probably going to reach herd immunity. You know, Israel's we're all going to reach herd immunity, we're going to get this thing, and that's what they were saying. They can act like they weren't, but I have the receipts. And once again, just a few months later in August, CNBC admitted, here's why herd immunity from COVID is mythical with the Delta variant. So herd immunity went from imminent to mythical in just a few months in the eyes of different experts. Now I'm not sure if we'll ever get there, but that's quite the different scenario. Fortune.com in April said it's official, vaccinated people don't transmit COVID-19. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky this week declared that vaccinated people do not carry the virus. I believe that's a direct quote. Hopefully that wasn't an April Fool's joke, but it would almost make more sense if it was, because it didn't take that long to turn around, and CNN said in August, fully vaccinated people who get a COVID-19 breakthrough infection can transmit the virus, US CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said Thursday. So the flip-flop in just a few months from vaccinated people do not carry the virus to they actually can and do. And don't let the television lie to you. The experts don't even agree with each other. I know they pretend like they all are this happy group of scientists and everybody just 100% agrees on everything and they're 100% right all the time, but that's actually not the case. For instance, Israel, Pfizer, etc. are rolling out the booster shots, the third vaccine dose for millions of people around the world, but the World Health Organization says no conclusive data yet on need for COVID-19 booster shot. This was in August 25th, 2021. I'm sure they'll eventually change their mind on that, like most of the experts do on literally everything. But as of August 25th, 2021, the WHO says no conclusive data yet on need for COVID-19 booster shots. Specifically, Tedros, their leader, spoke on it, and quoting Reuters, the data on the benefits and safety of a COVID-19 vaccine booster shot is inconclusive. But Dr. Anthony Fauci says dramatic data from Israel supports COVID-19 boosters. So understand Pfizer, Israel, Fauci, and the World Health Organization, they don't even agree on this. So if you have an opinion or a perspective, in my opinion and perspective, it's okay to have your opinion and perspective, but in their eyes, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to question the experts or the scientists or the bureaucrats in charge of you, even though they're constantly contradicting themselves and questioning each other. I guess this is part of our new caste system. It's like when you go to a restaurant. Well, I have money and I go there, so I don't have to wear a mask, but my waitresses have to wear a mask sometimes. I guess my air is better or something, and since they have to work, they have to do that. Not sure how the science of air works in that scenario, but it's starting to feel like a caste system to me, where the workers are being humiliated, degraded, and bullied, and the patrons are being treated like royalty. It's disgusting to me, but please explain to me in the comment section why my air and their air differs, because I'd love to hear it. And when Fauci says the dramatic data, I want to look at the actual data so you can see it for yourself. This is not my opinion. This is the data on Google, which apparently comes from JHU, which I believe is Johns Hopkins University. This shows September 4th, 2021. It says there were 25 deaths per COVID data, and the 7-day average of deaths was 29. That's this year, with over 5.5 million people double jabbed and over 2 million people triple jabbed. Now, if you look back to September 4th, 2020, there were 12 deaths on the same exact day with a 14-death 7-day average. On September 4th, 2021, that's right now, the new cases were a little under 8,000 with a 7-day average of over 9,000. If you go back to the same day in 2020, September 4th, new cases were a little bit over 2,500, and the 7-day average was a little over 2,000. A day passed while editing this video, so I decided to look at the data on September 5th for daily deaths. In 2021, it was 51 in Israel, and on September 5th in 2020, it was 14, presented without comment. So I guess that's the dramatic data that Fauci's talking about that justifies the booster that the World Health Organization at the moment that I read that doesn't even agree. Of course, this all changes all the time. The science is settled. They tell you when they don't want you to question them, but when they change their own opinions and contradict each other, the science evolved. It's totally normal to go back and forth. Just you, peasant serf, you don't question us, 'cause that's the little game they're playing. It's just sad people are either dumb or brainwashed enough to believe it, but whatever. And I can't talk about this stuff because I'm just this peasant type person who doesn't have the authority in this new 1984 authoritarian world to tell the truth, but I'll leave it up to New York Times to do it, since they're the trusted experts who are allowed to do this stuff. They said recently, Israel, once the model for beating COVID faces new surge of infections, one of the most vaccinated societies, Israel, now has one of the highest infection rates in the world, raising questions about vaccines' efficacy. Wait, they can raise questions about efficacy? That's crazy. I mean, of course, you could see that 95 number turn into a 39, but you shouldn't raise questions because you'll get deleted off social media. You shouldn't raise questions because your boss should just be able to bully you. You shouldn't raise questions, but the New York Times, your overlord, they'll raise the questions for you. Thank you, New York Times. I appreciate it because I had a question myself. I just didn't want my Instagram page to get deleted. Thank you so much. In that article, they actually said, unlike previous epicenters of infections in Israel's crowded, less vaccinated, ultra-Orthodox communities, this scourge primarily took hold in well-vaccinated middle-class suburbs. I'm shocked they admitted that. Thanks for not just blaming the Orthodox. It's nice of you. It was starting to seem a little anti-Semitic. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, thanks for actually telling the truth about this, New York Times. It's nice to see that for a change. Business Insider said Israel has one of the world's highest daily COVID-19 infection rates despite high vaccine uptake. Andrea Mickelson, August 21st. Thank you, Andrea, for telling the truth. I can't do it, but you can. Thank you. And the Wall Street Journal recently said in Israel, being fully vaccinated now means 3 shots. Israeli study finds booster shot of Pfizer vaccine can give a 10-fold protection against severe illness. So in order to be fully vaccinated in Israel, you need 3 shots now. So for anybody that's walking around so pompous in America, I am fully vaccinated. You are below me, little peasant. For now you are. And the booster, whenever our CDC and FDA, whatever, whoever's calling the shots, they're going to decide when you're fully vaccinated or not. So it might be time to get back in line for a booster soon. In America, be on standby. In Israel, you're no longer fully vaccinated if you got the 2. You need the 3rd. What does that mean exactly? Let's read. Holders of Israel's vaccine passports must get a 3rd dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine within 6 months of their 2nd dose or lose the so-called green pass that allows them more freedom. What's funny about that is you need a 3rd dose to be fully vaccinated, yet Google, for some reason, hasn't updated that, and they're claiming that fully vaccinated means the 2nd dose. So if anybody works at Google, I'm not an official fact checker, but maybe it's time to revisit Israel and understand that fully vaccinated actually means the booster shot. So you're welcome. If you guys want to pay me, you're welcome for helping out. I know you guys love checking the facts, so you might want to update that. It's wrong, Google. Anyway, back to the Wall Street Journal article. More than 2 million of Israel's population of 9.3 million have already had a 3rd shot, including 70% of Israelis aged 60 or over and nearly half of over 50s. Israel's government considers the booster shot a necessity, with the country experiencing one of the worst COVID outbreaks despite 78% of Israelis aged 12 and over having received 2 shots of the Pfizer vaccine. It's such a good business model. I wish I had a product that if the efficacy dropped, I take no responsibility. I just keep selling the product. That sounds epic. Maybe I'll do that with my hats. Just 2 times a year. You buy it once, you pretty much got to buy it forever, and I'll ban you from society if you don't keep buying my hats. GodBlessHats.com. Sounds like a good business model, but I'm not that bad of a person, so I won't do that. But something to think about. Now, once again, I can't say this. I'm surprised Bloomberg Business said it on their Instagram page. They wrote a whole article about it. It says a previous bout of COVID may prevent Delta infection better than a Pfizer shot, in which Bloomberg Business was citing some Israeli data. You know, wow. That's shocking that they even said that. I condemn that. Okay, listen. Whoa, that's really bad. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm trying to play by the rules. Bloomberg is owned by Michael Bloomberg, so I think anybody who disagrees with that headline is actually an anti-Semite. So cool it with the anti-Semitism, folks. You have to read that headline and believe it. Disagreeing with it is starting to seem a little bit hate speechy to me, but listen, I don't make the rules. And this is about good health, folks. And you know it's about good health because Las Vegas will put a mask on you in most facilities, but they'll allow you to take off a mask in order to smoke smoke inside their property. Nothing screams good health like forcing a cloth over people's breathing holes unless they want to take it off their breathing holes in order to smoke a cigarette. Now that's somebody who really cares about your health. Are they still doing free French fries and donuts? Because I'm hungry. I'm trying to get healthy. I mean, I work out, exercise, but that's Joe Rogan nonsense, conspiracy theories. I should just sit on the couch and drink high fructose corn syrup, watch the NFL, and go get my free bribes for this product that's just totally awesome. Anyway, jokes aside, it's kind of gross to me that people don't realize the real toll that all this stuff is having, the lockdowns, treating people like crap, etc. USC's record number of drug overdoses driven by opioids in 2020, more than 93,000 people died of drug overdoses in the US last year. It's really sad. Fentanyl especially is a big killer that no one talks about. Please be safe, kids. December 20th, 2020, Yahoo News admitted overdose deaths surpassed COVID-19 deaths in San Francisco, where a record of 621 people died of drug overdoses in San Francisco that year, a higher number that far outpaces the 173 deaths at the time from COVID-19 in the city. So there is a toll that we should be able to talk about, I think, right? We should be able to have a conversation, a discussion, a debate, but the medical authoritarian psychopaths, as I call them, they act like they're the overlords that can't be questioned, even though, like I just proved, they constantly question themselves, they constantly change the data, it's constantly evolving, and they constantly move the goalposts. But let's take a look at some other data, a metric that they don't talk about very much, what I would consider the most important metric, but I'm no expert. It's deaths per capita, how many people are dying and per population.
Now check this out, y'all.
So this comes from worldometers.info. I filmed this video on September 5th, Sunday, 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, because one time I did this and they fact-checked me and said, fact check, this wasn't the data on the day Anomaly made the video, and it actually was. The fact-checkers are morons, or not good at their job, but anyway, this was the data on worldometers.info. Deaths per million population. You can see Peru is number 1 at 5,922.
Is that a pandemic?
Making this video, and Hungary's number 2, way lower at a little above 3,000. That's a lot of deaths in Peru from the COVID data. Number 1 by far. Do you know what's also interesting about Peru? The Telegraph admitted before that Peru had the toughest lockdown in the world and still ended up with the worst fatality rate. Toughest lockdown in the world, most deaths. Weird. Do you guys remember when they were fear-mongering about India? India. There's over 1 billion people in India, but India, oh my God, India doesn't listen to us. India needs to do what we say. Oh my God, these people are... Let's look at the data of India. Where is it? It's hard to find because in deaths per population on the worldometers.info, it's all the way down at 117th with 316. All that fear-mongering about India, they never told you deaths per capita. I wonder why. And just to prove to you that there is a toll of what's going on, The Guardian did this last year, but I think it's very telling. COVID's set to cause 400,000 surge in tuberculosis deaths as medics are diverted. Millions of misdiagnoses will add to the global pandemic toll. That's obviously happening here in America too, not with tuberculosis, but cancer screenings, doctor's appointments, because they canceled so many over the last year. There is a toll to that we should be able to talk about. Stop bullying people all over the place. But let's move on. So in general, if people want to take a medication, it doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't force food down somebody's throat. I wouldn't force medication in somebody. That's not my style. I don't care what people do. There's actually, if you look it up, over 20,000 prescription drug products approved by the FDA for marketing. It's a lot. I don't take them all. In fact, I don't know that I take any, and I shouldn't have to. But the bullies are trying to force this product on everybody, and then when the efficacy is not what they say it is, they blame people who didn't take the product, or they eventually get around to blaming people who did take the product and tell you that you actually have to take another one. I guess forever, maybe every 6 months, 8 months, they're not even sure yet. So I have to be a pharmacy customer for life, or else I lose access to gym and society. I mean, is that not psychotic to even people who got the product? It's a little creepy to me. I'm not what they're going to say. I'm not anti-vax or anti-pharma. It doesn't even make sense to me. It's like I'm just being a rational, reasonable person who doesn't want to give the government and corporate class the power to kick me out of society and treat me like an animal, prisoner, or slave because I turned down one of the products that they're offering. It's very creepy, especially given the presentation I just gave with the data that I didn't make up myself. It's just proving itself time and time again, but the agenda is so severe that they don't really care what the data says. They're just pushing their agenda at all costs. They won't say that, but that's what's happening. I read this article that was from 2018. It's very interesting. It's a Forbes article. It said the biopharmaceutical industry provides 75% of the FDA's drug review budget. Is this a problem? And this is not just some random guy who wrote the article. You can see John LaMattina was the president of Pfizer Global Research and Development in 2007, where he managed more than 13,000 scientists and professionals in US, Europe, and Asia. He's received numerous awards. You get it. This guy's a bigwig. It's a great article. It's fair. It shows both sides. But once again, he was saying that at the time, 75% of the FDA's drug review budget came from the industry. It's a good read. But either way, God bless America. God bless the world. And good luck to Pfizer with their Comirnaty product that is now the first COVID-19 vaccine that is approved. That will now be pretty much forced on millions of people. I mean, they'll say it's not forced, but you can't go to school, you can't keep your job, you can't eat at certain places in New York City. They're trying to basically outcast you and treat you like a criminal, slave, peasant, or second/third/fourth tier citizen if you don't get it. So they are bullying people and holding people for ransom and threatening them. They can act like they're not, but that's what they're doing. So God bless the people who are putting up with that, because I know it's weighing on the mental health of millions of people. And I think it's so evil and so wicked, especially given opioid overdoses, suicides, and all of what America's facing. I mean, childhood obesity's up. Of course, they don't give a crap about that, because they'll probably just shove some pharmacy pills in these kids' mouths, and now they're making even more money. They don't care about health, but we can pretend like they do, whatever. Yeah, oh yeah, they really care about health, for sure. But sarcasm aside, I really pray for people, because I know what people are going through, so I just want to let you know, I care about you. I know politicians on both parties don't. I know the media doesn't. I know everybody's bickering over everything, global politics, etc., but I just want to let you know, I care about you, God bless you, and please stay strong. This world is a better place with you in it, and I hope that you stay mentally strong, you stand up for yourself, whatever you believe in, whichever side of the fence it's on, peacefully, honestly, legally, of course, but please stay strong, because I know a lot of this stuff is having a huge mental and psychological toll on people, and almost no one's talking about it, and almost nobody seems to care. I do, and I really pray for you to be happy, wealthy, successful.
I think the brother heard that right there. Now, go to the this one right here. We watch 2 more videos, and we're gonna end the class.
Otherwise healthy gay men in Los Angeles who had come down with PCP, a type of pneumonia typically caused by a suppressed immune system. Doctors and scientists were baffled by the novel disease. They had no idea what was causing these otherwise young, healthy men to become gravely ill. One such scientist who took an interest in researching the novel disease was Anthony Fauci. At the time, the first reports of the illness, Fauci was working his way up in the bureaucracy of the NIH. At the time, Fauci was working on other things, but he was so intrigued by the novel disease that he began dedicating much of his time to it. In 1984, Anthony Fauci was named the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, a title he still holds to this day. And public panic regarding AIDS, which had finally been given a name the year before, had firmly taken over the nation. Public panic intensified, partly because of comments made by Fauci regarding transmission of the virus. In the early 80s, the public believed AIDS was a sexually transmitted disease that only affected gay men. But after the discovery of an infant being diagnosed with the virus, Fauci made comments in the Journal of the American Medical Association claiming the possibility that routine close contact, as within a family household, could spread the disease. This news immediately set off alarm bells as mainstream news outlets such as AP and the New York Times began reporting on household transmission of AIDS. ABC News sat down with Fauci regarding this new development.
Fair use for educational purposes only.
The long incubation period of this disease, we may be starting to see, as we're seeing virtually as the months go by, other groups that can be involved, and seeing it in children is really quite disturbing.
When you say other close contact, give me some examples.
Well, for example, if the close contact of a child is a household contact, perhaps there will be a certain number of cases of individuals who are just living with and in close contact with someone with AIDS or at risk of AIDS, who does not necessarily have to have intimate sexual contact or share a needle, but just the ordinary close contact that one sees in normal interpersonal relationships. Now, that may be far-fetched in the sense that there have been no cases recognized as yet in which individuals have had merely casual contact, close albeit, with an individual with AIDS who, for example, have gotten AIDS. For example, there have been no cases yet reported of hospital personnel who have fairly close contact with patients with AIDS. There have been no case reports of them getting AIDS. But the jury is still out on that because the situation is constantly evolving and the incubation period is so long. As you know, it's a mean of about 14 months, ranging from 6 to 18 months. So what medical researchers and public health service officials are concerned with is what we felt were the confines of transmissibility now going to be loosening up and broadening up so that something less than truly intimate contact can give transmission of this disease.
Well, of course, we now know that the infant contracted the virus through their mother's womb, but the damage had been done. Public panic had intensified, and people were fearing they could get AIDS from sharing a toilet seat or even from shaking hands. People living with AIDS were being alienated and ostracized from their jobs, homes, communities, and gay men in particular were heavily stigmatized. On the treatment front, Fauci and the team of scientists at the NIH began frantically working on a vaccine, believing that would be the way to end the AIDS epidemic. Confident in their work, Health and Human Services Secretary Margaret Heckler declared in 1984 that an AIDS vaccine would be ready for testing within 2 years. But banking on a vaccine proved to be harder than it seemed. 2 years passed and there wasn't one even ready for testing. The public was losing patience. Pharmaceutical companies were also racing towards a treatment for AIDS, realizing the incredible potential for profits. In 1987, one such company was Burroughs Wellcome, a British drug company who showed in a test tube that their failed cancer drug, AZT, could be repurposed to treat AIDS. Limited studies were done, long-term side effects were unknown, but in record speed, in less than 4 months, the FDA approved the drug as a treatment, claiming the benefits outweigh the risks. One of the parameters of the speedy approval process was for the drug company to bring back follow-up data in 2 years. Burroughs Wellcome agreed, but of course, since the drug was already approved, they never really needed to follow up, and so they didn't. Celia Farber did incredible reporting on the approval, use, and dangers of AZT for Spin magazine in the late 80s. In her article titled Sins of Omission, she writes, quote, "The majority of those in the AIDS-afflicted and medical communities held the drug up as the first breakthrough on AIDS. For better or worse, AZT had been approved faster than any drug in FDA history, and activists considered it a victory. The price paid for the victory, however, was that almost all government drug trials from then on focused on AZT, while over 100 other promising drugs were left uninvestigated." Now, the expensive drug made Burroughs Wellcome record profits, and at the time, it was the most expensive drug ever marketed. But people were desperate. They would do anything to get their lives back. Despite numerous doctors raising concerns about the toxicity of the drug, some even saying that it was doing the very opposite of what it claimed to do, that is, it was actually shortening the lives of their patients, Fauci and other health officials disagreed. In 1989, Fauci began to promote the drug, not only for critically ill AIDS patients, but for anyone who tested positive for HIV, including those asymptomatic who showed no signs of disease. Those patients included hospital workers, pregnant women, and even children. Doctors were stunned. The data the NIH released was limited, but nonetheless, the NIH had gone all in on AZT. Despite it becoming clearer and clearer that AZT was toxic, caused liver damage, and destroyed white blood cells, the drug continued to be used for several years after, while calls from activists and doctors to study any other possible treatments went ignored. One such treatment that was ignored was Bactrim. PCP was the leading killer in AIDS patients, and many doctors were prescribing the inexpensive antibiotic as a prophylaxis to prevent AIDS victims from developing the rare pneumonia. There was evidence that the antibiotic should be used as a prophylaxis whenever the reoccurrence rate of PCP for a given condition was over 15%. The reoccurrence rate of PCP in HIV-positive patients was over 60%. Despite the science, Dr. Fauci declined to conduct a clinical trial. Doctors and advocates continued to push for its use, and finally, a couple years later, it was adopted, after thousands of patients had already died. As Fauci and the NIH focused on vaccines and AZT for the treatment of AIDS, hundreds of drugs went unstudied, many of which were demonized. In fact, the movie Dallas Buyers Club is about treatments AIDS patients desperately sought after because of the inability to access them legally. Many doctors advocated that the best way to treat patients was to focus on mitigating the severity of the ailments that would ultimately kill them rather than trying to eradicate AIDS altogether, that the virus mutates too quickly to waste all resources and time on a vaccine or other preventatives, that everything should be studied, all avenues explored, and all options should remain on the table. But unfortunately, that's not exactly how the AIDS epidemic was handled. Big Pharma got their payday in AZT, millions of dollars allocated by Congress went to vaccine research, which never produced anything effective, and meanwhile, along the way, hundreds of drugs and treatment options went unexplored. And we still don't have a cure for HIV. The epidemic never went away like people hoped. We do, however, have effective treatments that help people live a good, long life with the virus. There were a lot of mistakes made along the way, a lot of lessons that could have been learned. But after looking into the history of the AIDS epidemic, it's curious if we've actually learned any. Here we are today with a pandemic that is causing mass hysteria. Like the days of people demonizing gay men as the culprits behind the epidemic, we have the media demonizing the unvaccinated as the root cause for why this virus just won't go away. Many hope the vaccine would stop the spread and eradicate the virus, but like AIDS, the virus seems to mutate too quickly. The same way Fauci discouraged and even prevented inexpensive treatments from being talked about, researched, and prescribed back then is the same thing that is happening today. And in the end, with the lack of a promising cure and a realization that the virus is likely here with us to stay, many who fear exposure to HIV have chosen to wear a condom to protect themselves, just like those who fear exposure to COVID are choosing to wear a mask. In reality, our government officials should be working on absolutely everything from every angle to attack this virus, from vaccine developments and PPE gear to treatments, protocols, vitamins, health routines, and repurposing other drugs. They should be using our tax dollars to study inexpensive treatments that Big Pharma has zero interest in studying because they can't make billions off of them. And yes, Big Pharma should also continue to try and find a cure or a vaccine. Everything should be tried. Nothing should be spared. Nothing should be demonized. Everything should be studied. But just like what happened during the AIDS epidemic, that just doesn't seem to be happening.
Let's go to the, let me see. Look at him. Well, before we, yeah.
The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Now, you might think that a drug receiving approval from the FDA has been carefully vetted and offers a high degree of safety and efficacy. Well, a 10-year analysis published in the Journal of the American Medical Association tracked the negative safety events from FDA-approved drugs. The researchers found that nearly 1/3 of all drugs approved by the FDA had some kind of a safety event after reaching the market. Nearly 1/3. Now, what's most alarming about all of this is the timeline of these safety events being noticed and being acknowledged. The average time from approval of the drug, getting to market, and the first post-market safety event was 4.2 years later. 4.2 years after the drug is deemed to be safe and allowed to be marketed to our citizens. Now, in this analysis, again, published by the Journal of the American Medical Association, the FDA was right about drug safety about 69% of the time. If we were to use the analogy of our education system, for example, the FDA would be a D student. Now, that's okay to be a D student if millions of lives weren't routinely destroyed because of the D student level success rate. That would be okay if they didn't receive billions of dollars in funding each year to ensure that they were above a D level student, to ensure that they are actually doing things with high efficacy, but they're receiving this funding under the guise that having this supreme influence and supreme control is needed in order for them to be the best of the best in the world. But if you actually look at the success rate, it's far from what people are led to believe. Now, with this being the case, unfortunately, there have been very well-educated and well-intentioned people who've naively believed that the recent drugs that have been approved by the FDA, that if there was a big problem, that they would be seen within the first few weeks or the first few months. When in reality, most of the safety events are seen years later. And it's just as if this is lost in this conversation and overlooking how biology really works. We don't know all the ramifications of a new drug intervention that quickly. That's just not how biology works. Now, another big understanding for us to take away is that the FDA doesn't actually test any of the drugs that it approves. They leave it up to the honesty of the pharmaceutical company to test and then to report their conclusions to the FDA. It's sort of like grade your own homework, right? It's sort of like that opportunity when you're in school. Like, of course I'm gonna get 100%. You kidding me? I get to grade this myself. I get to do all this stuff behind the scenes, grade my own paper, and then turn it into you to give me a stamp of approval. Or not, which we're gonna see as we evolve here in this conversation. What does that approval rate look like with pharmaceutical companies having a major influence now by being a major funder of the FDA itself? So with this being the case, and the FDA having a D level of success in determining safety of drugs, what are the real world implications? What does this look like for us as citizens in our society? Well, a report from the International Journal of Health Services found that in a recent 17-year span, an analysis of 17 years, here in the US, unsafe drugs were prescribed more than 100 million times before being recalled. Approximately 4,500 drugs and devices are recalled every single year. These are the same products that were given FDA approval, and in many cases, were widely ingested or injected before being recalled. Now, to be clear, all recalls are not for safety events, but a scary amount of them are, and I believe that you have the right to know about it. Thousands of individuals here in our society die each and every year from these drugs. Millions more are injured, and they just get recalled, and then they get replaced with different ones. It's starting to look like a revolving door of cash grabbing and a lack of integrity and efficacy with the way that the system is running. But again, when I say some of these numbers, I want to get more specific. The EJS Center for Ethics at Harvard University states that properly prescribed drugs cause about 1.9 million hospitalizations each and every year. Nearly 2 million a year. Another 840,000 hospitalized patients are given inappropriate medications that cause serious adverse reactions for a total of 2.74 million serious adverse drug reactions. The Harvard researchers reported that nearly 130,000 people are killed each and every year in the United States from taking pharmaceutical drugs as prescribed. And another 70,000 people are killed each year from prescription drug overdoses. This totals about 200,000 deaths each year at the hands of pharmaceutical companies in their analysis. The Center for Ethics at Harvard states, quote, "The FDA does not acknowledge these facts and instead gathers a small fraction of the cases," unquote. Millions of people have died from prescription drugs, yet most people never hear a peep about it. A big reason for this is the negligence in reporting by the FDA and other regulatory agencies. It's a complicit system. It's not just the pharmaceutical industry, it's also the regulatory agencies that allow these things to go unchecked and continue to happen each and every year. And again, most people never hear a peep about it. Do you think that's an accident? Now, you would think that the all-powerful FDA would crack down on pharmaceutical companies, crack down on all of these deadly incidents to protect U.S. citizens. But then you'd be failing to realize that today, pharmaceutical companies provide the FDA with nearly half of their overall budget. And upwards of 75% of its scientific review budget of the FDA itself is coming from those same pharmaceutical companies that it's supposed to be regulating. In fact, pharmaceutical companies provide billions of dollars in funding to the FDA every year. The very organization responsible for regulating drug companies is massively funded by those same drug companies. The question is, how is this happening? Well, it began with the advent of something called user fees. Under the guise of providing the FDA with more resources to approve drugs and get them to the market for patients who may need them faster, legislation was passed, put in place to allow drug companies to begin paying the FDA directly hefty user fees with a guaranteed date of review to be completed for them. So they're going to pay these massive fees to the FDA for faster review and a guaranteed date on when they're going to get to their approval. Again, these user fees are of the magnitude of billions of dollars collectively from pharmaceutical companies' pockets to the FDA's coffers. An analysis that was published in the Journal of Law, Medicine, and Ethics titled Institutional Corruption of Pharmaceuticals and the Myth of Safe and Effective Drugs states, quote, "The authorization of user fees in 1992 has turned drug companies into the FDA's prime clients, deepening the regulatory and cultural capture of the agency. Industry has demanded shorter average review times and, with less time to thoroughly review evidence, increased hospitalizations and deaths have resulted. Meeting the needs of the drug companies has taken priority over meeting the needs of patients. Unless this corruption of regulatory intent is reversed, the situation will continue to deteriorate, unquote. Having a system here in the United States that allows the FDA to be funded by the very same entities to the tune of billions of dollars each year by the same industry that is supposed to be policing creates an obvious conflict of interest that has been repeatedly reported in some major published analysis, peer-reviewed journals, the list goes on and on. But what's being done about it? And even more importantly for this context right now, what are the results? What's happened since the advent of user fees? Well, the FDA's rejection of new drugs has plummeted. Didn't see that coming. In 2017, the FDA only denied 19.7% of all applications for new drugs, biologics, and efficacy supplements, compared to denying a high of nearly 60% of applications in 2010. Big difference. Dead giveaway. Since the FDA began receiving funding from pharmaceutical companies, we've also seen the approval of some of the most addictive and deadly opioids that have destroyed millions of lives and devastated countless families. Again, these drugs, here in the United States, it's well noted now that about 500,000 people have died directly from pharmaceutical companies pressing and allowing addictive opioids onto the market. Those are just the deaths, which is like we can't even understand that. 500,000 people, 500,000 lives lost. That's not to mention the millions upon millions upon millions of other lives that were destroyed, people that were injured, families destroyed due to this. And the FDA signed off on these drugs, giving them the stamp of approval that they're safe. How do we not have a major problem with that and look for accountability? And now the craziest part, and why this is getting done right now, this masterclass on the FDA. We're looking to these same entities to determine what we're putting in our bodies right now. What's wrong with us? How can we allow this to happen? We're acting as if these organizations are operating from a place of efficacy. We're acting like they don't grade their own homework. We're acting like they don't control the media and the reports that you get. Who's controlling the information that you receive? And what is their track record? Now, again, with all of the rapidly approved new drugs, this is where we're at today. There is now a 20% chance, a 1 in 5 chance that trusting citizens will experience an adverse event when taking a prescription drug. A 1 in 5 chance. You got better odds with Russian roulette. It's 6, 1 in 6 at least, you know? And some of these instances are literally deadly, literally killing our citizens. And I want to reiterate this point as well. You have to keep in mind just how difficult it is to actually prove that the drug company is at fault when somebody is injured or lose their lives. Only a small fraction of those cases are acknowledged. These pharmaceutical companies have the most powerful legal team on planet Earth. Their job is to make sure that it's not their fault. It is your fault, or it's the fault of something else. So, as we're saying these numbers, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Because it's a much bigger problem than even what we're highlighting here. Now, this brings us back to the FDA, because another layer of concern here is the revolving door of employees working at the FDA and then working at pharmaceutical companies, or vice versa. There's a revolving door. They're just sharing people. There's no conflict of interest here. Not only do pharmaceutical companies provide the FDA with massive amounts of funding that would clearly be a conflict of interest, the FDA and pharmaceutical companies also engage in a revolving door of sharing employees. For example, the former FDA commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, left the FDA and joined Pfizer as a member of its board of directors just prior to the beginning of the pandemic in 2019. Now, listen to this. Even prior to his appointment as the FDA commissioner, Scott Gottlieb actually served on the board of directors for multiple pharmaceutical companies. He also served on the investment board of GlaxoSmithKline, currently the fourth largest vaccine maker in the world. And Scott Gottlieb has continuously been a strong proponent of mandatory vaccination, whatever entities he has been a part of. This is just one example where someone in a position of power at the FDA has also profited mightily from the drugs the pharmaceutical companies sell by literally working at those same pharmaceutical companies. This instance isn't rare. This scenario is not rare in the slightest, because nearly 30% of FDA employees leave the FDA and get high-paying jobs at pharmaceutical companies. This would logically make you question what FDA employees may be doing to get in the good graces of the pharmaceutical company for their future cushy job with them. And the reverse happens as well, where pharmaceutical company agents, employees join the FDA with their insider information. Now, here's another step in this process. There is an approval board of physicians working with the FDA who are actually responsible for reviewing the pharmaceutical company's data for their drugs and clearing the drugs for approval if they choose. So again, there's an approval board of physicians working with the FDA who are responsible for reviewing pharmaceutical drug companies' data. They're not actually testing the drugs, reviewing their data for the new drugs and clearing the drugs for approval if they choose. Now, is there any influence happening with these physicians who are on this board of approval? Well, an analysis published in the journal Science found that nearly 40% of physician advisors on the FDA approval boards received payments from pharmaceutical companies at some point after they approved a drug. It might be 3 months later, 6 months later, doesn't matter. When they track this down, which was again not difficult to find, it's not going to get reported with the FDA, but they found that somehow money from pharmaceutical companies land in the pockets of the physicians in the form of cash payments, grants, or other means. Money was found also changing hands when certain drugs were not approved. The report also tracked payments received from the competitors of drug companies who were seeking approval. That's interesting as well. I know you got approval coming up with Company X. Company B is like, I don't want their stuff to get approved. Or they might feel that Company X and you got Company Z making that payment. They're like, we want Company X's product to get approved because it's going to help to increase our market share as well and increase our exposure. So this is all happening. This is called post hoc contribution. So this is after the fact. So it's not like they're giving them money right then and there to make the approval. They're just like, you know what? We'll wait a little while. You go ahead, approve this. We'll wait a little bit. Nobody will notice. We'll give you a little something later. Let's make this happen. Could be to the tune of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. There were even some instances where these physicians received over $1 million. It's available. These things it sounds like a movie of corruption and deceit, but it's real. So think about the drugs that are getting put onto the market, the drugs that are getting mandated for people to take. Where's the efficacy really at? Are we doing stuff the right way? Because in reality, we're seeing that when a drug is approved and it's marketed to the public and used by the public, it's over 4 years later when that first safety event is being acknowledged. We don't know what's going to happen. And I encourage you, I implore you to take more precaution and to be more patient with this than ever before, regardless of the pressure, regardless of what the media or the pharmaceutical companies or well-meaning physicians and advocates who truly do want to do the right thing, where do you think they're getting their information from? They're getting educated by these same entities that are ripe with corruption and manipulation, consistently criminal organizations. Now, this brings us to the point of the FDA. With these well-noted, well-documented, again, this is published in the journal Science, 40% of physician advisors on the FDA approval boards receiving payments from pharmaceutical companies at some point after they approved a drug. This is called bribery. This is illegal. But who's going to prosecute the FDA? Who's going to hold the FDA accountable when the FDA is given these godlike powers to hold everyone else accountable?
I knew there was some financial incentive. And recently I've been trying to pull up a lot more of that documentation, like some of the money that went through the CARES Act. See, because most of us, we're just concerned with what we're getting, you know, like the extra unemployment, or we could borrow money, but we're not looking to see where they're putting that money that is giving these schools and these principals and these districts the incentive to put masks on our kids, or to demand that they have shots. Look, it's okay, you know, if we were sleeping or whatever,
Fair use
only. It is time to wake up.
Why would this school keep doing this? So I decided to follow the money. And I went through report after report after report. And then suddenly, right there in the school letter itself, CDC, COVID-19, right here. And are you receiving any funds under those conditions, or aren't you? Or are you slated to receive them if you don't have them now?
We will receive our minimum student aid as we comply with the rules of the Illinois State Board of Education.
Which right here says universal masking, universal vaccine coming. Right here, this is the rules you're following, and I have the letters to show it. I'd also like to inform you that I am aware that the state of Illinois received $5,988,054 for their COVID-related, right here. This here, county, or this here school system, just the Vandalia school system, for full compliance gets $750,647. Who got the money and what'd you do with it? I just walked up a sidewalk out here that's not even swept. You got $5,750,000 and some odd more dollars. What did you do with it, and which pocket is it in? Because right now, this isn't happening. So hiding $5,750,000 from us, and then telling us that you're masking our children for their health, is unconscionable. Again, I have just one little final statement here. Just give me 1 second. You are violating the U.S. Constitution of the United States. I don't care what mandate the state of Illinois gives. You are violating the rights of these children, the rights of these parents, and your own conscience. If you just pledge to that flag, you are standing against it when you do this masking, this universal stuff to get that money. I'd rather see this school in ashes than to see you sit there with your pockets full while you suffocate our children with diapers on their faces. Not sovereign citizens of the United States of America, and I stand with that flag and the Constitution and the Nuremberg Code that goes with it. You have no power. You have no power to usurp the rights of our children or the authority that we have over our children. And because they're not old enough to speak for themselves, we stand and speak for them.
So my question is, where's all this money going? New York City alone, 8, 9, 10, about 11 billion. And there's probably more. I haven't looked it all up. Where is it going exactly? What's the plan post-COVID? Have you been looking around with, you know, what's going on in our world? Pay attention to these children in school. If you start to see changes that are looking weird and people want to scan your kids and add all type of stuff to your children, you really need to think about that, because this is really happening right now.
Teachers at this primary school in China know exactly when someone isn't paying attention.
白色就是你可能跟网络还没有连接好。
These headbands measure each student's level of concentration. The information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents. China has big plans to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. It has enabled a cashless economy where people make purchases with their faces. A giant network of surveillance cameras with facial recognition helps police monitor citizens. Meanwhile, some schools offer glimpses of what the future of high-tech education in the country might look like.
做出选择吧 Good job.
Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. These gadgets have alarmed Chinese netizens. But schools say it wasn't hard for them getting parental consent to enroll kids into what is one of the world's largest experiments in AI education. A program that's supposed to boost students' grades while also feeding powerful algorithms.
为了就是国家的这个研究呀、发展呀，我觉得是没有问题的。
The government has poured billions of dollars into the project, bringing together tech giants, startups, and schools. We got exclusive access to a primary school a few hours outside of Shanghai.
同学们早上好
To see firsthand how AI tech is being used in the classroom. For this 5th grade class, the day begins with putting on a brainwave sensing gadget. Students then practice meditating.
现在想象我们眉心有一点柔和的光芒绽放。
The device is made in China and has 3 electrodes, 2 behind the ears and 1 on the forehead. These sensors pick up electrical signals sent by neurons in the brain. The neural data is then sent in real time to the teacher's computer. So while students are solving math problems, a teacher can quickly find out who's paying attention and who's not.
说明这段时间他是有点在那走神的。
A report is then generated that shows how well.
This has never been about our health.
All right. Before we close right here, I want to ask y'all, what do y'all think about what we just watched? Oh, microphone. About to go off. Anyone have any comments on what you just watched? Yes, sister.
Salaki.
Huh.
I remember like in school in biology, we used to like go for different, stages, and one of them was like human population. And I remember like our teacher would always tell us that 1,000 people like die each day. But since the pandemic happened, I noticed that it's not they're like saying it's not normal for 1,000 people to die a day. But like when we learned in biology in the school, it was like it's supposed to be 1,000 people that die a day, like it was normal or something. Now all of a sudden it's not normal because of the pandemic. But before that, 1,000 people was dying each day, from what I understand, from what I learned in like biology and stuff.
It's like the information is being presented in such a way that is misrepresenting and confusing people. It's like manipulating people because they're taking, so for sure.
Yes, brother.
Almost.
It's off. There you go.
I was just gonna say, the videos just kind of posting more facts of what I know a lot of people in here probably was already thinking, because I don't just go out and look for it. I'm like, I kind of know what it is, but it just made me think. In the wintertime, like winter finna come up, if I wear a coat and I'm all warm, my coat not protecting her to be warm. So like when they say, I got the thing to protect the people around me, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, what you got in you or in your body doesn't protect nobody around.
You know, to me, I'll just sum up real quick. We've been going for a while now. We're going to sum this up. You know, everything we watch today, I think, is very important for us to really, for those who may watch this, to really ponder on. This thing never been about health. Historically, these people had never been about health. They've been about money and power. You see everything is incentivized. That's why you see your governors doing things that's contrary to what you think they would do because they're getting paid off. You know, and this world, this is the reset of the New World Order. What you see going on in China with the surveillance and all that, they want total control. Like they're really trying to play God. They're saying that that they have these little patches or whatever that they're gonna give people to put on their skin and give you the dose of the jab, or you want to call it. But they're gonna put something in you that's able to constantly monitor your blood. So they're saying they're trying to prevent sicknesses. You cannot prevent sicknesses. Like, so they're trying to play God. They're the guys that, it's not. So what they're promoting with this Pope, it's not this so-called pestilence, but other illnesses. It has not been long. For example, it has not even been here long enough to say what it does to another illness. Like, what is it doing for cancer? What's it doing for congestive heart failure? I'm serious. Like, how can this prevent that when you're straight on focused on this pestilence? But you're saying that if you do this, then it will lessen the effect of other illnesses. How do you know? Where's your research at? I have never seen any research about none of these things that really plague us. But all in all, man, it's manipulation of the mind, getting prepared to solely depend upon them for everything. You know. But as we watched a couple weeks ago, I think it was last week, that Bill Gates said if we can get a good vaccine and through healthcare, education systems, they can decrease the population. If people don't understand, all that who are taking, most of the people who are taking these pokes will be sterilized. So I see. Thank you. Wait, what?
No, Salak, I was gonna tell you. I read into that thing that they sent us, and one of the things they were saying was that, like, for instance, that exactly verbatim, you can't. They're saying even though you can't say that, and they also said that you can't say fair use. They were saying that you can't say that there has been more deaths from other things than from this so-called virus. They were saying you can't say that.
Okay.
When even if the facts show, the numbers show, they're saying you can't say that though.
Okay.
That's what they were.
Okay.
So
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So, hypothetically speaking, there's a possibility that those who have taken this pope may not be able to reproduce. Okay. So they're covering all bases. Some will be instantly out of here. Some a year later, 6 months later, a year later, 3 years later. But really, like as brother's bringing out, historically, the data really shows the adverse effects or the real effects 4 years later. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna take time to really see what it does. You know, and then someone else is bringing out that there's different stages that are being administered. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So everybody's not getting the same thing. One getting a stage 1, and this may affect you this way. You know, stage 3 may affect this person this way. Stage 2 affect this person that way. So it's they covering all their bases. Yes, brother.
I was saying that. Have you seen the new step they're going to come with? Instead of the Pope, they're going to roll out a pill.
Yeah, I seen the pill too, but ultimately they're trying to get to like this little thing with like the little snake veins. What you call them? Veins. Yeah, it's like 100 of them all up in the patch. Yeah, because they're saying that many children, people are scared of needles, so this is a safer way, But ultimately, they're coming. Yeah, yes, sisters. No, you give Sister Canal the microphone. You got to push it up, all the way up.
I've been out of school for 50 years. And we were when we was going to school, they was telling us at one time in the future that it's going to be one classification of people. We're going to have one income, and all they're going to have you working under one income, and that's it. And it look like that's all coming true because you're going to be working for nothing after a while. And the governor they're going to be over everything. I see. Now this was going on. They was telling us this 50 years ago.
People, yeah. It's crazy you say that because I actually watched a video a couple years ago about that, like how they're gonna get rid of gasoline cars, everything be electric, and people be on bikes, and they're gonna build little houses that's on top of each other, and
condensed.
and hold on, and everyone will receive a certain income, which ain't that much, Yes, brother. Huh? Yeah. So with that, we're gonna end the video, and we're gonna continue to have our class discussion. And I want to bid you all shalom.